to another Wednesday night Modern at the Gathering Place in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. We have some exciting Modern to bring you. I'm here with Isaac. Isaac, you excited to watch some Modern?
I'm pumped. It's going to be great.
Nice.
We have Max here on Kai Nose. That's Kai's Rhinos list, presumably from the Pro Tour, playing the ever-present Crashing Footfalls. And what do we have Alan on here?
Alan's going to be playing Grinding Breach. Alan is known to play this deck. He's played it for a while. He's got a particularly gorgeous copy of it, which I'm excited to see on camera.
I think all of his cards are for him. I think, as far as I'm aware about Alan as a person, he exclusively orders from Haruruga. Yeah, let's go down to the match and see what we have.
I know that both of these players are very good Modern players, so this is going to be a good match. Starting off, what a good way to start the round today because of the new recent unbanning of Preordain.
Preordain, yes. Off the Reading Pool. And did his opponent's dual play? Is that a Gemstone Caverns?
Yeah, so
with Lord of the Rings flavor.
Yes, I believe that Alan was on the play, but Max was kind of able to steal the play a little bit with Gemstone Caverns exiling a fetch land here. Definitely gives Max a pretty huge boost. Being able to hit 3 mana on turn 2 really large in this matchup.
This Rhinos deck is all about tempo. That's what they like to do. So we see him just play another land, pass the turn. No Fire Ice on upkeep.
Yep. So no disruptive elements so far from Max. We're going to see an Urza Saga and a Mishra's Bauble here for Alan. I know that Alan likes to take his time, have a bunch of setup turns with this deck. I think that
this deck has a lot of air.
Yeah, I think that a turn 2 Emery is going to be really powerful here for Alan. He's going to mill over 4 cards. This is kind of going to get the engine rolling. Being able to have access to both a legendary creature and a Mox here is going to be able to accelerate things pretty well for Alan.
Yeah, so we have the Gemstone Cavern stealing the play, but then Alan has the Mox Amber, which can also make an extra mana.
Kind of stealing back the play a little bit. Yeah. So I'm very curious to see if Max is going to end up having some sort of answer to this Emery. It's only a 2 toughness creature, so something like a Dead Gone could take it out here pretty efficiently. We're seeing Max fetch a tap land, so he still could have a Dead Gone because of that.
It's a Catrius Triome, I bet.
Yeah. Game 1 in this matchup, Alan is usually looking to assemble the combo. Max is going to have access to a lot more disruptive elements post-board that are specifically geared towards disrupting the Underworld Breach combo.
Yes. Usually, Rhinos lists play 4 Endurance, as well as a number of Force of Vigor, both of which are very good at disrupting the combo that Alan's trying to put together here.
Yeah.
Here we see a Shardless Agent cascading out the top into Crashing Footfalls is the first card.
Amazing. Right away. No shuffling needed. We'll just get these 4/4s into play.
Yes, put these 0 cards in the bottom in any order, please.
Yeah. So the pressure's on. Alan is going to have to find something pretty quickly. We do see a Dead Gone on top of the library for Max, so he wasn't able to have that on his turn 1 for the Emery, but he'll be able to take it out pretty shortly.
Yeah, sometimes it only needs to last a turn, though. It's already getting back the bauble, it's drawing an extra card.
It's applying that extra mana in conjunction with the Mox.
Misty Rainforest return and pass back to Max.
So this, it looks like we are setting up to make a construct here. It's only going to be a 2/2 for now, so it's not really going to be able to rumble with these Rhinos quite yet.
Well, it's only a 2/2 until next turn when he could make another one, so it could be a 3/3 off that, and then he's going to go fetch another artifact, so it could be as big as a couple of 4/4s.
These constructs, they get big quickly. That is for sure.
But he is going to take a hit off these Rhinos.
Yeah. I believe Alan is going to be at 18 here. Just the shock is the only life paid so far. Max wasting no time getting into the red zone.
For 10 whole damage. It's a lot of damage.
Yeah. Yeah, Shardless Agent really doing the work to make this a pretty clean 2-turn clock, even from 20. Alan's going to go ahead and make a construct. I'm curious to see if he is interested in just trading off now with
he could profitably block the Shardless Agent. It's a 3/3 construct.
So he's going to have to think about whether or not he wants to be patient and try to make a couple of constructs to answer these rhinos later, or if he's just, maybe he has another plan for these rhinos. He could potentially find a spell bomb with this Urza Saga final chapter.
Bounce it, rhinos back.
That could get one rhino. With Emery, being able to rebuy that bounce artifact for the rhinos is really powerful. Although we do know, and Alan knows, that there is a dead gone in hand now for Max, because Alan was able to see that off of the previous Mishra's Bauble. Yeah. So a little bit of understanding here.
We see Misty Rainforest cracked, presumably to go get tablet. Is this in Max's end step that we have this?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just
yeah,
gonna
it looks
get
like this
steam
was
vents.
cracked in Max's end step. Notably, okay, so I was gonna wonder whether or not Max was gonna go ahead and fire off this dead gone.
Yes, trying to kill that Emery.
Yeah, we got to get that Emery off the board. If it ends up, finding another, being able to rebuy more artifacts, that's just kind of too much value for that one card. It would have been pretty telling had Max opted not to destroy the Emery here, probably representing something like a violent outburst of a couple more
which
rhinos.
would potentially at the game next turn.
Yeah.
If Alan doesn't have something to string together here. We're going to see him make another construct, and then it'll be a pair of 4/4s. Going to get an artifact, making a pair of 5/5s, assuming he keeps that artifact around. What is he going to get, though? That's the question.
Yeah, and we no longer have the legend in play, so this Mox is temporarily off. I don't know if we have access to another Emery potentially, but we are going to get that Aether Spell Bomb. That will answer one of these rhinos as long as we have a blue source. And Alan doing a pretty good job
We'll see him
of
find
just,
the blue source, too.
Kind of clogging up the board, and I'm wondering if he feels comfortable enough to attack with one of these.
He wants to attack through here? He could.
Yeah.
There's no blocking. There could be a Brazen Borrower bounce, but we're not going to see that. We're just going to see Max take the, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 damage to the face. And pass on back. So now there's a 5/5 blocker that Max has to worry about swinging his rhinos into. So he can only get in 4 damage this turn unless he has an answer for the untapped rhino. Yep. Or can get one of those other artifacts off the board.
There is a little bit of a tension here between the Spell Bomb and the combat step. We are kind of holding on at a 5/5 right now, but if we do end up popping to try to destroy one of these...
See him bounce the token. That's pretty good. And swing in there. Probably only going to end up getting in for 4 damage.
Yeah. Alan's going to go ahead and pop his fetch land. Probably get basic island unless he's really desperate for another red source. And the good news for Alan is that Max ended up tapping out this turn. So Alan doesn't have to worry about...
looks like that's a Scalding Tarn?
I believe it is probably Windswept Teeth.
Looks like the life totals are 4 to 14. That is a precarious life total.
Yeah, 4 is kind of the magic number against a bunch of 4/4 tramplers.
Yeah, just need one of them to connect.
Yeah. But we don't have to worry about any more 4/4s this turn.
No, just the one. So what's the most that Max could have here? You could have exactly a Dead Gone. He could have a Mystical Dispute. I think Kai's list is only playing 2 of those. If I'm remembering correctly, although there was a few different Rhinos listed at the Pro Tour, so we don't have that exact. Hold up.
Ooh, but this is going to be a huge play for Alan.
Teferi Time Raveler going to get forced.
Teferi is definitely a card that needed to be forced there. I think that without the force in that exact spot, Max would have been in a very difficult spot. Yeah. However, with the force and Alan now at 2,
exiling a subtlety
with a 3/3. Yeah, I think it makes sense to go for the force there instead of the subtlety. You still
I mean, it would bounce the Rhino. So right now, Alan's going to be forced to block this, and he's going to lose that block. I mean, it's the 3/3 blocking of 4/4, so he's going to take 1 damage. He is at 2. It looks like, if that life total on the bottom of the screen is correct. So that is a little bit sus, as they say.
So Alan's at 2. He can block with a 3/3, go to 1 if Max has nothing. But Alan is dead to a lot of stuff. He's dead to Fury, clearing his blocker. He's dead to even just a Violent Outburst.
He's dead to Fury, dead gone, Violent Outburst. I'm sure there's more. Brazen Borrower.
Yeah.
He's dead to a lot here. Fire Ice.
Most spells.
Fire Ice can actually just kill him. And that is going to be a questing beast for the game.
What about a questing beast?
That is another feature of Kai's
4
list.
mana questing beast. Love to see
tracing back a little bit, it looks like Kai's list does have a full 4 mystical disputes.
Yeah.
So if he's playing that list true, then that would be... So yeah, he could have had a lot of things there.
Yeah, Max has written down his deck as Kainos. And if anybody's going to know how many mystical disputes are in this list, Kainos.
He would know, yes. So for sideboarding, what do you expect to see here from Alan?
So I think that Alan is probably going to bring in just the cards that are good and efficient at answering 4/4 tokens. So he's looking for engineered explosives, and probably that's it. I don't know. I think that there is
Not familiar with the Breach sideboard necessarily.
Well, I think the Breach sideboard has a lot of variety at this point. If there are extra Teferis, he's going to be bringing those in. Sometimes there's a couple extra Teferis sitting out in the sideboard there. He's definitely going to want the engineered explosives to be able to work in conjunction with Emery to kind of keep the board clear of 4/4s.
Engineered explosives, very good for against those 0/0s.
Max is going to be bringing in. Max has access, I will say, at least to a lot of cards that are going to be good in this matchup. The main ones that people consider are Endurance and Force of Vigor. Potentially an additional Beseiju or something.
Yeah, so just looking, again, assuming, I just pulled up Kai's list from the Pro Tour here, and that's what Max wrote that he was playing, so we're just going to go with that. He's probably going to take out the Gemstone Caverns, bring in a Beseiju. So Alan does have his deck listed as 4-color grinding Breach, but does that mean he's weak to Blood Moons? Maybe. He does have some Moxen in there, and he's like, the green is only for Haywire Might, so like it doesn't really matter that much. So maybe not going to bring in the Blood Moons, but he can bring in 4 Endurance and then 1 Force of Vigor.
One thing that I learned about playing Rhinos against Breach is that there is a pretty clear danger of over-sideboarding.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of your main deck cards are the most efficient
the plan
thing
you started with?
Yeah, and you really don't want to be playing this like heavily interactive game. You want to make sure that your game plan is still get 4/4s on the board and have like minimal disruption. Like you want to draw like 1 to 2 disruptive pieces over the course of the game to make sure you don't get comboed and die. But you don't want to be drawing just only disruptive pieces.
Yeah.
So I think that Max wants to bring in a reasonable number of disruptive pieces, but he doesn't want to overload on it. And I really like Kai's sideboard for that reason. He only has the 1 Force of Vigor. So that kind of like limits the potential of just like going all in on Force of Vigor, and then Alan has
Force of Vigor usually sees like a 4-of.
Right, yeah. Force of Vigor is one of those
only
cards
having
where
1. It's like,
if it's good, it's really good. Yeah.
But then again, keep in mind, this sideboard, and again, Max might be playing a different one, but this sideboard was tuned for a very specific meta, so it could all depend. He might have a different mix here for us.
Right. One of the new cards that I've seen a lot in these Cascading Shells is Flame of Anor.
Flame of Anor is a good one.
I don't know if that's really what you're going to be looking for in this matchup. The modes of destroying something or destroying an artifact, spending 3 mana to
You
destroy
could
something.
nab a Grinding Breach at the right time. You could also nab a Emery at a different time, and you could cycle it for 2 cards. So like, it's not terrible, depending what he wants to take out. If he wants to just like, not to play off the deck too much. If he wants to grind through this, right, then 3 copies of Flame of Anor might be just what the doctor ordered.
Yeah, but so we'll see what he's decided to go with. I think there's a lot of options for how much sideboarding you want to do in this matchup.
Going into game 2, we have Alan's going to be on the play. Both players look at their 7-card hands, see what we find here.
Alan's got a couple of white-bordered cards that I know that he is a fan of.
What an absolute monster. We have both players keeping with the Gemstone Mine, again, from Max. A cavern, sorry. Gemstone Cavern.
Yeah, Gemstone Cavern. Access to a couple of more of those.
That is a whiteboarded Ragavan. That card does not come whiteboarded.
No, that's a special job by Alan.
That is what they call damaged goods. We see a Ragavan on turn 1. Cycle Lorien revealed on Max's side before his turn 1. On his turn 0, he's already cycling cards.
Yeah, you gotta get that the use out of that mana as soon as you can.
Yeah.
This is definitely not a matchup where you want to be casting
Get
that
Steam
card.
Vents.
Steam Vents.
You go to his turn, maybe play that Steam Vents, and then pass back. So he's hoping to have some removal for this Ragavan here.
Yeah, you really want to see something like, I think if he had a Dead Gone, we would have seen it that turn. Maybe he draws into it this turn.
I could see him waiting a turn for it. Play the tap Shockland, dead your Ragavan, say go maybe. But we'll see what he does here.
Let's see what he goes with.
There's that Steam Vents.
That Steam Vents untapped, which definitely indicates a 2-mana spell.
Sounds like a fire to me, but he's going to pass. And then no Fire Ice at inconvenient times for Alan here, so what does he have here? Does he have a Petty Theft to bounce that guy?
It could be a Brazen Borrower that he wants to use in combat.
Except I will notice that Kai's list has no Brazen Borrowers.
No Brazen Borrowers.
There's a fire. No, that's an ice. He's tapping the Ragavan.
Yeah,
okay,
so really valuing that card draw. I'm wondering if that is because
I've always been tempted to do
light
this.
On lands.
He could have killed that Ragavan on his turn without any fear of a counterspell or another Ragavan or anything. Like, he could have taken care of that threat, but instead, he's choosing to tap it and draw the card. Very greedy, some might say.
It's maybe greedy, but maybe Max doesn't have any more lands in hand, and
maybe.
he really needs to hit that next land drop.
True. Drawing a card is very powerful.
Yeah. If Rhino's deck gets stuck on 2 lands, it does
not
not
a place you
look
want to
nearly
be.
as powerful.
Just a fetch and a shock for an untapped Steam Vents here.
So I'm wondering if Alan still has access to some of the 2-mana creatures that he's played in the past. Oh, but it looks like it is a Wrenn and 6.
So this is a true 4-color deck. It's not just playing green for the Haywire Mite.
I think that Alan might have just put that Wrenn and 6 on the bottom of his library.
That happens more often than you might expect with Subtlety. Sometimes not right now means not ever.
Right. Yeah, Wrenn and 6 is definitely one of those planeswalkers that...
and here we're going to see a second Fire Ice take care of that Ragavan. Maybe it wasn't greedy after all. Maybe he always had the 2.
Yeah, maybe. But notably, he missed his land drop.
Oh, he did. You're
so
right.
I do think that is part of the reason why...
There's a whiteboarded Teferi.
That card. And we've got another Force of Negation.
Force pitching Shardless Agent?
Yeah. And I think that the first Subtlety also pitched a Shardless Agent. So it
did.
seems like Max is probably pretty clogged on Cascaders and just really needs to hit that land drop, which he does.
He finds it off the top. We're going to see another Shardless Agent, you think? Or is it going to be a Violent Outburst?
I think it could be either one, but he's...
Violent Outburst.
Yep.
Plays around counterspells.
Pretty incentivized to just fire it off right now before Alan can tap into a Flushing Storm, Spell Pierce, something like that.
I do agree it's probably strictly correct to just play it now, although I have found myself often playing around counterspells against these Breach decks, and then I'll ask them afterwards, and they're like, oh, I actually don't play any counterspells. I don't play any Spell Pierce. I don't play any titular counterspells. So what am I actually playing around? So
well, I think that is true in Game 1, but post-board,
think there's more?
I think it's a lot more likely that Alan is going to have something like that.
Yeah. And at a certain point, you just want your spells to resolve.
Yeah.
Notice, Alan does only have a single blue mana here, so it couldn't be actual counterspell based off how he's fetched, although no, he does it the second blue. Mm-hmm. It could still be a Spell Pierce.
Yeah. Counterspell is definitely a hard one to fit into this
4-color mana base,
yeah. I'm
also to a combo deck.
If we're about to see the one and only
One Ring.
Maybe. A pretty good...
this is going to be
thing
a
to buy
preordain.
time here, but no, it's going to be the recently
freshly unbanned.
Oh, I think that might be a...
Is that a white
ring? You never know with Alan.
It's whiteboarded something.
It could be a whiteboarded
I'm going to put them both on the bottom. It doesn't like either of them.
Yeah. I think that I would have topped a ring, so
Well, he couldn't cast it this turn.
Yeah, not this turn, but it will buy him a lot of time and a lot of cards next turn.
Looks like he has a Ragavan in hand. Can't see what else he has.
That Max is on 0 cards in hand, so he's just on a prayer that these 4/4s are going to go unanswered. One of them, at least, will be answered here with an Unholy Heat.
Very good removal spell.
In for 4.
We saw he must have drawn the Unholy Heat off of the Bauble trigger that he drew in Max's upkeep. We see a Rhino suspended off the top. It always feels so bad to suspend a Rhino's late game. Like, turn 1, it's great. You're going to get it turn 4 or 5, it's fine.
Yeah.
But turn 4 or 5, you suspend it.
That's
you're
not
like,
a draw step.
I'm looking for turn 10 to actually attack with these things.
I wanted to have these Rhinos in right now.
Right? But if you don't play, like, depending how many copies of Endurance he's boarded in, or Force of Vigor, like, he might not have anything else to do with it. It might actually just, like, you just have to suspend it at a certain point.
Yeah, I mean, you just got to hope that you're going to be able to hold on.
Ragavan come in, get a Fire Ice. We're going to see Alan cast it. He could cast it. It's in his colors. He doesn't even need the treasure.
Yeah, he could cast either side. I'm wondering if Alan has better things to do with his mana.
Maybe.
He could be tempted to draw some cards here, but it's not really affecting the board at all. Max is getting ready to untap this turn no matter what. I think if Alan has pretty much any other castable spell in his hand, he's probably going to want to be incentivized to do
And life
that.
totals, I mean, Max is at 17 here, so it's not exactly like he's close to dying. And Breach doesn't typically win with damage anyway. I mean, they can Urza Saga you if they have to.
Yeah, the constructs can definitely close the bridge if it comes to that.
We are going to see tap the land, draw a card.
Yep.
He's going to put that in. I think he put that card in his graveyard upside.
And I think it was an Underworld Breach that was drawn.
It's a good card, but he can't cast it quite yet unless he has a land drop.
Yeah, so next turn, that card is going to be threatening to do a lot of powerful stuff.
Is that a Beseju?
It is a Beseju.
Yep. Channel Beseju on the Gemstone Caverns. Get rid of your Rainbow land.
Yeah.
Go get a different land. This must just be for value. I mean, the Beseju, I imagine, is the land that was not taken out rather than was brought in. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. I think that play is mostly just kind of...
So the Ragavan bounce back to
might
hand.
as well play this thing. Although, if Alan hadn't made a land drop that turn, I think that the extra green source in play might have been useful.
Maybe.
Green is a hard color.
He played the island that turn, didn't he? Like, he played a fetch land into the island,
Was it that turn? It could have been, for sure.
Because I mentioned he didn't have the blue mana, and then he got the blue mana that turn.
Yeah.
See a draw here from Max. What is he going to do with it? Hit him for 4. Goes down to 3.
All right.
Single green for another Rhinos. Not what you want to see, but if this game goes long enough, there will be a lot of 4/4s hitting Alan with...
Yeah. So I believe that Alan has a Breach in hand. And I think at the minimum, that means that a Unholy Heat is going to be able to be cast from graveyard to answer this one Rhino. And that will...
He has enough to Unholy Heat twice.
Yes.
So, yeah.
I'm wondering if he has enough cards in his graveyard to maintain Delirium with the first cast. Because if he can use the second 3 cards in his graveyard to cast a Bauble, I think that's going to be better. Here we go.
True, there's only one Rhino in play. Here's the Underworld Breach. We see that resolve. He has going to cast an Holy Heat, try and keep Delirium as best as possible.
It looks like Alan was unable to keep Delirium, so decided to
just cast
go
it
for
twice
the
for 2.
double.
Yeah.
And that is going to buy Alan a lot of time, but the clock is ticking here.
We have another Crashing Footfalls off the top. This should be the last Crashing Footfalls in the deck.
Yeah.
There it is, right on top.
Max does not have to flip long to find these 4/4s.
He is
Either
obviously
he
a good
draws them
Rhinos
off
player.
the top, yeah, or
yeah, drawing off the top, not what you want to do, but saving time on flipping them, that's definitely what you want to do.
Drawing Shardless Sage on this turn is exactly what you wanted to do.
Yes, now 3 threats that have to be answered.
Yeah. Which might be too tall of an order here.
You can deploy Ragavan to block the Shardless Agent, but then he still has 2 4/4s, and he's going to scoop it up.
That's going to be it. Max is going to take round 1 against Alan. Kind of is pulling through.
I guess there's a good reason that it did well at Pro Tour.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, Rhino's excellent deck. Alan's deck definitely needs a lot more to go right for him to be able to get in the game.
Yeah, any amount of disruption can be the end of it.
Yeah. All right. Out. All right. Well, that was round 1 of today. We're going to be coming back in a moment for the next round. Stay tuned, and we're going to be seeing some more Modern.
Yep. See you soon.
right, everybody, welcome back. We've got round 2 of our Modern Wednesday at the Gathering Place. This round we've got Azorius Control against Amulet Titan.
Should be fun.
Yeah.
2 classic decks.
Yeah, this matchup is definitely an interesting one and requires a lot of matchup understanding from both sides. So I'm very curious to see what the players are able to bring to this round.
Let's go down to the players. So Azorius Control, just to start off, they seem like they might be a favorite because they have 4 Solitudes, which is the best card against Amulet.
Yeah.
And they have multiple copies of Counterspell, although Amulet does have Cavern of Souls to stop that.
Yeah, the exile removal for a Titan is really crucial
Pretty
in this
big.
matchup.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see a lot of times where the games go really long and the Amulet players kind of run out of Titans. And that was kind of a dynamic that was really big back when Azorius Control was like doing Path to Exile stuff before Solitude even existed, is that Azorius Control was just trying to line up 4 Path to Exiles.
Before Titans.
Snapcaster helped with that, with the 4 Titans. The dynamics are a lot different now. We've got Solitude, which you're also trying to line up with the Titans. But also, Amulet has the ability to win in just kind of like slow, grindy games without Titan at all.
Yeah.
You've got Urza Sagas making constructs, which is a good plan just to apply incidental pressure. And then also you're able to kill with just Dryad of the
Dryad with
Elysium Rogue
Valakut.
and Valakut. So, yeah, a lot of extra dynamics to this matchup.
So we see our blue-white control player, Carson. He's going to be mulliganing. Looks like Jamie also mulligans. Jamie's our Amulet Titan player.
Yeah.
He put a card in the bottom. Carson's going down. Unclear if this is 6 or 5 cards for Carson. But both players starting off a little bit behind. We'll see what they can do, though.
Yeah, so the Amulet player keeping 6 cards. Amulet is a deck that is definitely very aggressively mulliganing to the correct pieces.
Yes.
So I imagine that on a 6-card keep, we're gonna see,
some good stuff.
Amulet, turn 1, some bounce lands. Probably not going to be missing too much from his hand.
See another mulligan from Carson here. That is truly unfortunate.
Potentially to 4. It's unclear on how far this mulligan is going to be, but the control player is not looking to mulligan very much. Amulet pretty happy to mulligan down to 4 as long as you have the correct 4 cards.
Control just needs a density of cards.
Yeah, control needs to have that density of cards to be able to interact. So this is going to be pretty difficult to climb back from for our control player.
Carson still with a smile on his face, happy to be in this tournament. He was asking specifically earlier to be on the feature match, so I'm sure he's just elated to get his wish come true.
You don't want to ask to be on a feature match and then mulligan to 4, but
yeah, it's not the best
you
way
take
to
what
be.
You can get, I guess.
Yeah.
Doing some a little
card math,
little card calculus over here. Seeing which of these are going to be the best.
It's like that's 3 cards in the bottom, so that wasn't indeed a mulligan of 4.
Yeah.
And who is starting us off? It looks like it's going to be Carson.
All right.
Pass over to Jamie.
Land,
All the 4 on the play. It's not great.
Yeah. I imagine as the control player, you're going to want to just try to keep a lot of lands.
Turn 1, Mycosynth Gardens into Amulet of Vigor. That is going to be a double Amulet next turn. And then the third turn is going to be potentially bounce land shenanigans.
Potentially death.
Yeah.
Depending on what Carson is going to,
in fact,
have here.
He could, I'm not familiar with all the Amulet lands. He could do next turn, right? Like turn 1 Amulet, turn 2 some nonsense?
I could very easily see a turn 2 kill here. It would probably involve playing a natural second Amulet into a bounce land, I think. Into some way to get an additional land drop, which there are many.
Well, if he goes,
here we go.
Here's going to take care of that Amulet. That is going to be a huge save. So that Mycosynth Gardens is not as effective without an Amulet in play. It's very important. But we do have an Urza Saga to follow up. It looks like he drew that off the top.
Yeah.
I'm going to pass back to Carson.
Really crucial to get rid of that Amulet, because not only does it get rid of the Amulet in play, but it also really slows down this Gardens to be able to create the second Amulet.
Yeah, very important. We are going to see an Amulet eventually, though. This Urza Saga left uninterrupted will put out 1 Amulet of Vigor, or maybe an Expedition map, but probably an Amulet of Vigor.
Probably an Amulet of Vigor. I believe that Jamie has the lands that he needs, but it is nice to be able to find the Expedition map when you...
I think it's the only target they have, right?
Yes. I mean, some lists don't even run the Expedition map at all.
Do they?
Some lists are just on, these are to find amulets. That's the namesake of the deck, and it's what I want to get.
So yeah, Plains for turn. He's going to go ahead and play it. Or that's not a plains. What is
I
that?
believe that is a castle of some variety. Castle of make a 1/1.
Castle will make a 1/1. Yep. Seeing another land for turn, just waiting for that Urza Saga to tick down.
Yeah.
Gonna play a construct this turn probably.
And I like taking your time here, just making some constructs, allowing them to pressure your opponent, making your land drops every turn, getting an amulet into play. I mean, being patient like this is
an uncounterable
is
amulet
pretty good.
on your draw, like after your draw step. So like you can't even get it prismatic ending mid.
Right.
Although I say that there's a Teferi Time Raveler in play. Oh, he's going to play Kahira instead. Probably put that in play. Already his hand on a previous turn.
That's interesting.
Keep a single blue open. I think he's bluffing.
I did notice that there is a Teferi in hand. So there was the opportunity to play out the Teferi.
Indeed.
And Teferi can actually bounce the land of Urza Saga.
Does it target artifact, creature, enchantment, or something like that?
Yeah.
That would be brutal.
I think that's a play pattern that not a lot of people are aware of.
I wasn't aware of that. Yeah, I'm going to start doing that with my Teferis.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
Teferi lists out the targets. It doesn't say non-land.
Doesn't say non-land.
Yeah. I remember getting on Shaheen Sarani's case for missing that interaction when he could have used it to win a top 8 match of an Open not too long ago.
So the specific wording on Teferi Time Raveler is -3. Return up to 1 target artifact, creature, or enchantment to its owner's hand. Urza Saga is an enchantment.
Yep.
So that does indeed work.
So we're going to float a mana here. We're going to get a copy. We're going to get an amulet. We're going to copy the amulet. And then we've got access to
a 3/3?
A 3/3. We
That's
have
not
that
the most
in play.
important thing happening.
This is going to be a bounce land for 5 mana. Or to go up to
4
5 mana.
Oh, with a... did he not use the floating mana to tap the Magosynth Garden?
Well, he had a forest in play, which I was counting as the 5th mana.
I see.
So he's gonna keep the land untapped. He's gonna play an Azusa. If there is a Titan here, this should be a kill. But it does require another bounce land in hand.
Yes.
I assume that there's another bounce land in hand because we picked up the forest.
There's a bounce land.
There it is.
Simic Growth Chamber.
Yeah, so
That's 4
gonna
mana.
be
Plus the 2 from the untapped Simic Growth Chamber is 6 mana. If he really wants to play that Titan, he can do it.
Yeah. I imagine that if he is picking up these things... Oh, okay.
Going with the 1 ring. It's interesting. It can... So, Carson is playing, I believe, 4 copies of Leyline Binding. So, it's not like this 1 ring can stick around forever. But, Carson's already so deep into mulligans... So just drawing a bunch of extra cards his cards all answer 1 for 1, right?
Yeah.
So the 1 ring, just drawing a bunch of cards is going to put Amulet really far ahead here and just be able to keep casting Primeval Titans eventually, assuming it resolves.
Right.
It can't even get Spell Pierced here because there's an untapped 2 mana land.
And I believe that we even have a land drop left. So
I think 1 more.
I think there's 1 more land drop that we can make off of this Azusa. So if this resolves and he draws right now and he draws a Titan, I think that could also be game over.
Yeah. Draw a card.
Looks like he's putting draw on the stack. Carson is considering whether or not to
Carson
let
only
it
has
resolve.
blue. He can't do anything right now.
All right, so there's that last land drop of the Azuri.
Another 4 mana.
It's going to be another 4 mana. So I'm wondering what the next payoff is going to be.
Notice that Jamie has color-coded dice for blue and green there. Very pro move.
Yes, very
There's
convenient.
a Primeval Titan.
There it is. So I'm betting that was the draw off of the 1 ring.
Oh, he's... Okay. Carson, jumping the gun a little bit here. Potentially, right?
Yeah.
Because he's going to exile that Primeval Titan in response to the trigger.
Yeah. That is not a play I usually advise.
Usually you want to wait for them to commit more to it, right?
Right.
Like,
because, there's a lot of times where the first set of lands that you get is going to find you something that gives
another
it
Titan.
haste.
Or gives it haste, or... So what we're going to see Jamie do here, he's going to get Teleria West and some other land. But if it's a bounce land, he can return the Teleria West to his hand, get a... transmute it for a pact of... It's a green pact that finds another Titan. And then they can find another Titan and play another one. So what you really need to do is wait for him to commit to getting the haste land rather than Teleria West. And then, once it has haste before it attacks, then you can Solitude it. You do end up, there's that Summoner's Pact is what it's called. So you do end up having to take more, like, give him more life with that Solitude. But generally, you will commit him to a worse line of play if you wait on that Solitude. But we're going to see him snap it off here. Just quick, and...
Looks like we have an attack for 4 with just the Construct.
Just the Construct. That's a big Construct.
Yeah, and I don't believe that Carson has any additional cards in hand other than the one that he just drew.
He's going to cast it. It's, what is that?
I believe that's a Wrath of some
Is that a Supreme Verdict?
A Supreme Verdict, yes. And while that does get rid of the creatures in play, I believe that with 2 amulets and a pact in hand, Jamie's going to be able to cobble together some sort of kill here, I would imagine. It is always interesting, however, to see kind of what lines that the amulet goes for. There's a lot of different ways to kill from this spot.
It's a very complicated deck. So we see a Pact for a Titan. Gonna cast the Titan with that bounce land mana, and he's gonna untap it and then return a land. So he's gonna have and Carson's gonna say it's good enough.
Carson's seen enough.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are a lot of game actions that take place in between now and killing Carson.
He's not quite dead, but he's basically dead.
We all know he's dead, but
Carson's
not gonna make him prove it. So, I think that Azorius Control is one of those decks that doesn't really have a consensus on what the sideboard looks like. I think that it is
very meta dependent, isn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty meta dependent. If you're bringing it to your local store, you have a good idea of what you're trying to gear towards. So I'm not sure what Carson's going to have access for here. From the amulet side of things, there's also not a lot that I would imagine that you want to bring in. Typically, amulet sideboard is filled with things that are kind of trying to play through your opponent's hate, like as the proactive.
They're hate cards.
They hate cards, exactly. But I've seen like a Carnage Tyrant, or like some sort of uncounterable hexproof creature every once in a while. The amulet can have access to.
Hydra that's like X blue-green or something, or
that's an excellent one.
Yeah.
If
bounding. No, that's not the right.
Something Krasis.
It is Krasis, I think.
I think
I'm thinking Bounding Krasis, but that's a Splinter Twin combo card.
Right.
Hydroid Krasis.
Hydroid Krasis.
There we go. We found it.
The one.
Hydroid Krasis. It's a good card. Let's see.
Hydroid Krasis being like an uncounterable effect of being able to draw a bunch of cards, and then you have this big creature that is threatening to win the game. So you do have to answer the Hydroid Krasis at some point.
Yeah.
But the main appeal to the Hydroid Krasis is being able to draw those cards, try to bury your opponent in card advantage.
For the listeners at home, the Hydroid Krasis is X green blue. When you cast this spell, gain half X life and half X card. Draw half X cards, rounding down, and then it's an XX with flying and trample. So that's a good strategy to pivot to, because it draws a lot of cards, and so even if they remove it, you still gain a lot, kind of like the One Ring, where like even if they can get rid of it, you're going to draw a bunch of cards from it, and that'll outpace whatever removal they have for it.
Yeah. So having access to both the One Ring and something like that would be really difficult for Azorius Control to try to fight through.
And the main deck backup plan that Titan has is Cultivator Colossus. Put a lot of lands in play real quick. And again, it can still be solituded, but it did its value coming in rather than attacking, which is what Titan's plan to do.
Just kind of guarantee that you're going to have all spells in your hand. And I think that this is a matchup where you end up cutting down on elements like Arboreal Grazer. Those cards are really for the fast matchups where, you want to be able to turbo out your Titans. I think that Jamie here is pretty happy to play like a slower game plan. We saw him just kind of like make the land drops, make some constructs, have those apply a little bit of pressure. And we didn't really see that element being as impactful as it could have been, because Carson was just on mulligan before and ended up, dying to stuff.
And we did see their peak. He did board out some Arboreal Grazers. I don't know if you caught that as he was putting that in his deck box.
There we go. Okay, yeah.
So your call was
Love
right there.
Carson is sideboarded and ready.
Yep. Presented, ready to go.
Yeah. Just says, please don't let me mulligan to 4 again.
Yeah. It's always a rough spot to be in. Although, he did a really good job at a 4, right?
Yeah, I mean, you know, he had what he needed.
Pushed him off twice, got an Amulet and Titan off the battlefield.
Right.
And then died to something. But, on a Moeller 4, it's not bad.
Yeah, I mean, just add, one Jason Mind Sculptor into the equation there, and all of a sudden you can really get back into the game.
He had a Supreme Verdict for what he did there. It was, so he might have actually even won it if he had waited for that Titan to grab, that Titan trigger, to grab and not, the haste thing.
Right.
He wouldn't have had a second Titan.
Tipping Jamie off to get the Bounce Land and the Artillery West.
Then again, Jamie might have gotten it anyway, just knowing he's playing against the Solitude deck.
Right.
Solitude and Leyland Binding deck that could have this.
Mm-hmm. And Carson was giving off a certain amount of timing tells of, he was really considering hitting the Azusa at a couple of points, I could tell, but looks like we've got one mulligan from each player already.
Yeah, starting the same way.
You got a mulligan. It's modern.
You get to mulligan.
You get to mulligan. That's right. Looks like both players
you don't have to keep 7 land hands. You don't have to keep 7 spell hands. You get to mulligan down to something you appreciate. And you don't get to do it forever. Yeah. You have to build your deck a certain way, and hope variance is on your side to some degree, but you get to mulligan.
Yeah. You get to find that Bizarre Baghdad and
we see
play
Carson
Magic.
keep his 6. There's no Bizarre Baghdad in this format.
Well, yeah, but
We can only hope. And Jamie's going to keep his 6 as well. Going to start off strong. Carson's going to play a tap land and say go.
All right. Looks like we drew a Cavern of Souls. That is a card that,
another tap land and go.
Now that I'm seeing it, is reminding me that is a pretty common sideboard card here.
Is that a Teleria West from Jamie, it looks like. Flooded Stream from Carson, and Urza Saga from Jamie. Just doing land drops these turns, nothing important.
Yep.
Get another tri-land. Looks like that might make his Leyline Binding cost a little bit less.
Leyline Bindings are good to go. We've got a turn 2 Urza Saga. See if we can apply some pressure with that. This is a spot where a Teferi would be really backbreaking.
Bounce that Urza Saga, that'd be pretty sweet. 3 mana Stone Rain and blue-white.
Yeah, that's what you want. I mean, the control decks are all about that
Do
mana
we think
advantage.
Carson knows about bouncing the Urza Saga?
I think we're about to
He
find
didn't do
out.
it last time.
Yeah.
Just hoping he does, though. Gonna fetch that Scalding Tarn, find a Hallowed Fountain. He's gonna pay 3. Your life total is not irrelevant against Titan, but it's not the most relevant.
Yep. So we do see the Teferi,
Gonna
and we're gonna
plus
plus
it.
it. All right.
Not gonna get that Urza Saga.
So we've got a Beseju as the land drop for turn. I'm wondering if we're gonna see something like an Azuri or what is this?
I do not know. That is a strange artwork. That's 3 mana. It could be an Azusa.
If we're about to make some more land drops, I imagine it's either a Dryad or
It could be a
Azusa.
Dryad, yeah.
Dryad of Elysian Grove is a card that could have some alternative art that I haven't seen yet. Teferi's going to go ahead and bounce that Dryad back to hand. And we see a missed land drop.
Looks like that is a Dryad of the Elysian Grove, yes. Carson missed a land drop. Okay.
Yeah, missing the land drop. And we're going to make a construct, likely with the idea that this construct is going to be able to at least put a little bit of pressure
survive the Teferi.
on the Teferi.
Yep. So, at the very least, it'll keep Teferi from bouncing anything else anytime soon.
Right.
Assuming Carson doesn't have another... He could Archmage's Charm it if he says he wants to gain control of it, although
That
he
is
might
fair.
choose the Amulet instead just to keep it away from his opponent.
Right.
He could Pending it, he could... Any number of things. But... Jamie's going to make him do one of those things.
Yep. We've got a land drop. And then we're going to have 2, potentially 3 mana here. Yep.
Tireless Tracker, and Carson's going to say, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
That is a good card. So for those at home, whenever you make a land drop, it makes a clue. A clue, it's an artifact that you can sack for 2 mana to draw a card. And when you do that, Tireless Tracker will get a +1/+1 counter. So Carson's going to cycle his, what's it called?
It's a Shark Typhoon.
Shark Typhoon, end of turn, make a 1/1. It's a good blocker. Keeps your fairy alive. He has the land. That's good.
Yeah, made the land drop. He's going to be able to...
Pending the amulet.
Yeah, get rid of this amulet. Pretty crucial here. Still no answer to this Tireless Tracker from what I can see.
He does have another pending in hand. And a Leyline Binding.
Okay, so...
and a Solitude.
He's got plenty of options.
And
then.
a blue-white card to pitch to the Solitude. He has a lot of answers. This was only a 6-card hand.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have any more lanes in hand, you probably have a lot of good spells here.
Yeah, Teferi's going to plus, so we can cast that Prismatic Ending at any time if he wants to get rid of that token in mid-combat, for example. I imagine we're just going to see a pass here back to Jamie and see what he draws off the top.
There is some consideration to wanting to get rid of this Tireless Tracker now.
You think now, before it makes a bunch of clues?
Yeah, I think that you want to prevent your opponent from making a lot of clues.
3 mana, though. That's like all your mana.
It's a lot of mana.
And also the Tireless Tracker only hits you for, what, 3 every turn until you start cracking clues?
It gets big quick.
It does, but that means he's not casting Titan.
Right.
If he wants to spend a turn cracking clues into Tireless Tracker, that means I can Solitude it later. I mean, I could see him just leaving it for a bit.
The question is, what are we gaining from leaving this mana open? Is there a counterspell that we're holding up? I think that's a little dubious because we know about this Cavern of Souls.
Maybe. So, right now, he has access to Prismatic Ending, Solitude, and Leyline Binding.
Yep.
He can cast, in some combination, any 3 of those.
Right.
Right? So, he could just be waiting to see what Jamie does.
Yeah.
I don't know. Your question's great. What is he gaining, but also what is he losing by passing?
So it looks like there was a Dryad resolved.
Another Dryad, yeah.
We played another bounce land. We picked up the same bounce land, and I think that is just to get a couple of extra land drops for this Tireless Tracker.
Another Selesnya Sanctuary?
I don't believe there is an amulet in play.
There's not.
So
why is it untapped then?
I wonder if the players are aware that there's no amulet in play.
I'm sure they'll figure it out.
So we've got an attack with both of these creatures at...
There's that instant speed Prismatic Ending, take care of the token. And Jamie's going to be like, I'm sorry, this is a sorcery. What are you... Oh, you have a Teferi in play.
Got the Teferi plussed it up. So we're going
to take the hit from that Tireless Tracker.
Yeah, I believe we chump blocked with the Shark token on the Tireless Tracker.
Oh, did we? Okay.
To protect the Teferi.
Yeah, the Shark token's gone.
Yeah.
So
are these both Dryad of...
Those are both Dryad of Leasing Grove. One of them looks like it's foil and one of them is not. Mm-hmm. And he has 2 clue tokens and the Tireless Tracker.
Gotcha. The artwork of these bounce lands are throwing me off a little bit. I think that far left land is a bounce land.
Yes, I think that far left land is Selesnya Sanctuary.
Yeah.
We see Supreme Bird to clean up all the creatures, 2 Dryads, and a Tireless Tracker. That's another reason why I might not have wanted to just let the creatures trade, chomp a little bit, Supreme Bird on the other side. Yeah. He's going to miss another land drop. Carson.
Yeah, I had the opportunity to play the Wrath at instant speed there.
True. He does have the Teferi. There's the Amulet of Vigor.
All right, so the amulet is back in play, no longer a Phantom Amulet.
Ooh, a 1 ring.
That is a good one.
Tap it. 1 ring. Seen him play on a lot of decks.
Yeah,
pretty good.
And I think the amulet is one of those decks that really gets the benefit of being able to bridge 4 mana into more mana.
Well, Amulet so often just needs something to do, right?
Yeah.
They could have 1,000,000 mana and play untap, draw a card, and say go.
Yep.
And the 1 ring says they can draw more cards.
So we've drawn a card. It looks like we have hit a land, and we're going to be picking up this Beseiju.
Boros Garrison.
Yeah, we picked up the Beseiju.
So the Beseiju relevant here. It can hit, not with the lands untapped right now, but in general, it can hit a Leyline Binding, which could be relevant in some cases. So that's pretty good. It can also hit Chalice. I'm expecting the Chalice has got boarded out.
Chalice is an interesting one in this matchup. You can put Chalice on 0 to be able to hit the
packs.
The packs, which I think is worth having them in at least in some
Counter
number.
4 cards.
Yeah, but it's a very important 4 cards.
It is a very important 4 cards.
You can find those cards pretty well.
You can also put it on 1 to counter any hardcast amulets, Arboreal Grazers. Is that the only 1-drops they play?
I believe so. Teferi is going to bounce the 1 ring.
Yeah, that's the only 1-drops they play.
Draw a card. And I think that we're just considering a passing of the turn here. We're going to draw another clue. Still no amulets in play, so less likely that we're going to see something
less explosive.
Truly explosive. We've got 4 mana tapped here. We might be seeing the 1 ring once again.
The 1 ring.
Yeah, being able to draw 1 card with an activation is not quite as scary. It's still kind of scary, but it's not as scary as...
It's going to get a counter spell. It's not going to resolve.
Yeah. I like using the counter spell there because of the existence of the Cavern of Souls. You're really not able to...
You're not countering Titan.
Yeah, save the counter spell for the Titan.
I presume Titan is what he named with that Cavern of Souls. Or Giant, sorry.
Got to name Giant.
There's a Dryad of Leasing Grove.
All right, the Dryad is back. And we've got 1 more land drop. Now, if this land drop is a Valakut, we could see some fireworks here.
True, could take off that Teferi.
Looks like it is just
Trigger.
another bounce land.
Oh, it's not a Valakut. But still a bounce trigger.
Yeah, and it's bouncing the Boseiju, and that Boseiju is threatening to turn into either a Dryad now or another amulet.
Yeah, not until Jamie's next turn. So he's going to get a Chalice. There's that Chalice for 0, like you mentioned. He did keep them in. Yeah. I would have expected it to be ward out, but he thought it was good enough to keep. We're going to see that Teferi plus. Looks like he has a Counterspell of Solitude and a blue card in hand. I wasn't able to see that last blue card.
Yeah, and we see Jamie just has a ton of cards in hand. So,
Gritful.
You know, even though he hasn't really been able to progress the board too much, you know, as long as he's able to just really bury his opponent in cards, I think that Jamie's feeling probably pretty good about his spot here.
They have to be the right cards, though, right? If those are all just lands, there's another 1 ring.
Well,
there's a
we've seen this 1 ring quite a bit now.
Is this going to get counterspelled, do you think?
Looks like this one has resolved.
Oh, it's going
to be
pretty good. And Jamie's still at a full fat 20.
Okay. No green mana up, unfortunately. So he's not going to be able to have access to Boseiju quite yet.
There's that Valakut. Turn late.
Yeah, Valakut makes it into play now.
It's going to pass. Going to get, is that a Memory Deluge?
Memory Deluge. Whoop. Don't put those in hand quite yet.
Yeah.
So we get to see 4 cards, choose 2 of them, and I think that he's deciding to keep a Teferi and a land, but I might even just consider taking 2 lands here.
On 4 lands on turn, what is this, 8?
Right.
Like, yeah, I would want to make some land drops.
Although I think that was a Teferi Hero of Dominaria, which is a very good one to be able to resolve when your opponent doesn't have any pressure on the board.
We see a Shark Typhoon, Teferi, and something else in there.
All right, we have a
I got Shark Typhoon was
Teferi.
the unknown blue card. He's just going to say pass, though, after picking up that Teferi. Let's see what Jamie has for him.
Yep. Now we're going to be able to draw 2 cards here off of the 1 ring.
It's pretty good.
Let's see what Jamie has to offer for this turn. I think that the most threatening cards are going to be Titans, of course, but also Dryad. Just being able to turn on this Valakut. Start dealing incidental damage. Yeah, and for that reason, we see the Boseiju coming down on the Leyline binding that was on the Dryad.
Yes.
Not really valuing the Amulet of Vigor as much.
Just want those bolt triggers from Valakut.
Yeah.
Person's going to be happy to take that land drop per turn. See what he finds there. Probably a dual land.
Yeah.
Oh, just going to go with an island.
Yeah. Island's nice, untapped, colored source. So I imagine that we have plenty of lands in hand, given that we're playing Amulet and we've drawn so many extra cards over the course of this game. I think there were 3 clues cracked. Little tongue twister there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Said that 5 times fast. 3 clues
3
cracked.
clues cracked. So we've got a land drop here. Probably going to see something that's going to get rid of this Dryad in response. So I think that the response here is to the Valakut trigger off of the land drop. Going to be trying to get rid of this Dryad as fast as possible. Oh, okay.
Bounce my own Dryad gets to live another day.
Yeah.
Your Solitude does nothing.
Yeah. So
well, it blanks a Valakut trigger.
Yeah.
It doesn't do nothing.
Not nothing. So yeah, I think that we're going to see a replaying now of the Dryad. Jamie really understanding that Dryad is probably the scariest threat that he can have here.
Indeed.
Is going to take care of that Teferi. A 3/2 attacker, not really that threatening when you have the 2/4 blocker.
Also, I don't think Jamie really cares about Carson's life total at this point.
Right.
Or his own. I mean, he's at 19 to 15. This game is not about...
Yeah. That 15 can go down pretty quickly, though. I mean, if each land drop is representing 3 damage, we're talking about 6 a turn. That's 3 turns of Valakut triggers.
True. Yeah, and I think Titan with 1 amulet does something like 18 points of damage. Was it? So, Carson's within that range.
Right. A Titan in this spot, if it resolves, and the Dryad is able to stick around, would probably be game over.
Yeah.
You can even get a second Valakut, and that just really amplifies
disgusting.
the number of triggers. Carson considering his options. I'm seeing that there is a Teferi in hand, and just being able to bounce this Dryad is not really an answer. I mean, we're not talking like this is turn 3 and he's got to spend his whole turn on it.
In some ways, yes, it's not an answer, but he does have he has an Archmage's Charm in hand, which says counter target spell. So we could bounce the Dryad on the way back down, counter it, unless that Cavern of Souls is naming Dryad.
Right. Yeah, we could have a Cavern on Nymph over here, and I think that that's what Jamie just indicated on the board.
He could also, so here's an idea. If he has another white card in hand, I don't know if he does, but if he does, he could bounce his own Solitude.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like he only has his blue cards in hand, but he could bounce his Solitude and exile the Dryad that way.
I think that's probably one of the lines that I would consider in this spot. Another line that he has access to is play Teferi for 3 mana, bounce the Solitude, pick up Kahira, and then that Kahira would act as
Solitude, so he can get the white card.
Additional white card. But I think that first we're going to see Teferi bounce Solitude. Just see if you draw naturally the land, because I think that if you don't draw, or if you do draw a white land, you'd probably be more incentivized to draw 2 cards with your 3 mana off of the Archmage's Charm.
Indeed. Yeah, 2 Archmage's Charm is a lot of Archmage's Charm.
Yeah.
He's just going to bounce the Dryad.
Okay.
Going to try and counter the one back down.
Yeah, so I guess we will find out what these caverns are naming. These caverns have been picked up and replayed a couple of times, so I'm sure there is a little bit of ambiguity on which one is naming what. Carson considering his options before passing the turn, and he will end up passing the turn here.
Get those life totals updated with that ring.
Yep. We're taking 2 more
down
to
just 17. Just going to tap again.
Go ahead and draw 3 cards. Why not?
Never even bother rotating that piece of cardboard if you're just going to tap it again, right?
Yep. Perpetually tapped. One ring. All right. 1, 2, 3 mana tapped. I assume that we know what this is about. Dryad is
Dryad. That's uncounterable. That's the only green mana is coming from Cavern of Souls.
Yep. Oh, here we go. Urza's Saga coming down.
Trigger kill your Teferi.
Yeah. Teferi down. So we do have access to another land drop here. Looks like it's going to be a bounce land. Valakut Trigger is going to target the Solitude.
Yep. Going to stop any potential rebalancing value from that.
Yep. Solitude down, picking up Teleria West. Teleria West can find a Pact, but there still is that Chalice on 0 that is stopping Pact from...
Jamie with 9 mana left over after that play. Going to use 3 of it to transmute that Teleria West. What is he getting here?
It could be just another land.
A Summoner's Pact? There's a Chalice in play.
Yeah.
Is he going to Beseiju it? He has a Beseiju in hand, right?
I think that Beseiju was used...
Can the Archmage's Charm the...
is this a draw 2 mode? Unclear
Maybe.
on what this mode is going to be. But it was slammed on the table.
It was.
Draw through.
That is draw 2.
Yeah. I think that it was just a passing of the turn after picking the... I wonder if part of that play was just...
So maybe we're going to see an Beseiju end step here.
It could be.
And then up on my turn, or Jamie's turn,
right,
go for the Pact.
Yeah, that is...
Because he might not have enough to Beseiju and also Titan.
Right. Yeah, I'm only seeing...
I think it's like, what, Celestian Sanctuary there?
I'm only seeing 1 green source and 1 Cavern of Souls. So, yeah.
Well, it's only 5 mana there. Even if it was all green.
Right.
Oh, it is all green. It's a Dryad.
That's right. Can't forget about Dryad. Even Urza Saga taps for green.
Even Urza Saga. The colorless land. Well, all lands are colorless, but the land that taps for colorless mana. We're going to see, is that another Teferi?
4 mana. 5 mana.
1, 2, 3, 4.
All right, it looks like Teferi was played and is going to minus on this Dryad here.
That Dryad's a good target.
Yeah, I mean, this Dryad is going to...
Did he only tap 4 mana for that, or is there a 5th land hidden in there?
I imagine that there is another land hidden in there somewhere. Because I believe that this Steam Vents was the 7th land, and we've got 2 untapped. Yeah. So I think that what Carson might be thinking about here is, do I get rid of this Dryad now, or do I bounce this 1 ring that's starting to draw 4 cards next turn? That is a lot of cards.
That 1 ring, it's hard because it's clocking your opponent, but it's also drawing so many cards. Gonna get another land
and your prediction was correct. There was a Beseiju that targeted the Chalice on 0. So I imagine that we're going to be untapping and trying to do...
Titan's going to come off this Summoner's Pact here. Going to get that shuffle and present. And Jamie's going to say, no, thanks.
So yeah, the 1 ring was the target from this Teferi Tuck.
Why? So he's putting the 1 ring down there. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, Teferi was able to tuck the 1 ring away. But now, we've got 3 mana represented from Karsten. I just don't know how threatening that is. Given that he's already kind of demonstrated to Jamie that he doesn't have very good answers for Dryad. Alright, so this Pact is on the stack. There might be some consideration to using the counterspell mode. Oh, hello, Swan Song. So,
Swan Song's a good
Pact
card.
on the stack, an attempt to counterspell, and now Swan Song is going to say, no thank you, you can have a bird, but I would like a 6/6 that is probably going to end the game this turn.
2/2 bird's not the greatest defense against a 6/6 trample with haste.
Right.
And double strike.
Yeah, it looks like the shark is going to
It's actually
be
be like an 8/6 or something.
doing his best bird impression.
I mean, sharks, birds. What's really the difference?
I mean, a flying creature.
Yeah, sharks fly.
Yeah. It looks like this pact actually found a.
Is it a Cultivator Colossus?
Yeah.
It's a
So
good
I
card.
imagine that if all you're looking for is land drops here with Valakut and Dryad, Cultivator Colossus is the one that you want. It's going to make a lot of land drops.
Pretty good.
Okay, so it looks like it has resolved, so we are now resolving the trigger.
So note with this Cultivator Colossus, all the triggers go in the stack after you're done putting lands in play.
Right.
So all these untapped triggers, any Valakut triggers, anything like that, it's going to happen all at once the Cultivator is done doing his trigger. And it looks like that's going to be now.
Yeah. So I think that there were, 7 or more? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yeah.
7 lands put into play here, and
With
that's going to
Valakut,
be
right?
21
With the Dryad?
damage. With
That's a lot of
Valakut
damage.
and Dryad. Wow, there you have it. Titan pulling through.
Titan's one heck of a deck.
Yeah. I think that, what we saw in that game was Jamie just really, in the early game, valued drawing a lot of extra cards. We saw... we saw some clues being cracked. We saw a bunch of other stuff just happening to kind of make sure that he hit his land drops, get all that mana advantage, and was able to take over the game.
Yeah, we got there in the end.
Yeah, so there you have it for round 2 of our Wednesday night. We have, I believe, 2 more rounds to bring everybody.
2 more rounds, yeah.
Looking forward to that. We'll see everybody next round.
See ya.
All right. Hey everyone, welcome back. It's going to be round 3 of the Wednesday Night Modern here at the Gathering Place. This round we've got Chris Rogers on another Rhinos deck against Jack on Hammer Time.
Yep.
Hammer Time is a deck that I think has kind of gone in and out of popularity in Modern. It certainly used to be one of the most popular decks. It's gone down a little bit.
It didn't get any new cards.
It didn't
with
really.
The Lord of the Rings set.
It didn't
a lot
really
of the
get
decks
new
did.
cards. Mm-hmm. And also, the One Ring is problematic.
Hard.
Yeah. It's pretty difficult to, when they are able to kind of like blank one of your full turns. You're pretty much exclusively on damage or bust with this
Yes.
deck.
Hammer, really good at putting out damage, not so good at other things.
Right. Yeah, we've got top 3 cards here for Jack. Number 1, Esper Sentinel. I like that.
It's a good card.
Yeah, number 2, Stoneforge Mystic.
Yup.
And number 3, Plains.
All-Star, top 5 of the basic lands.
It is indeed top 5.
And then Chris is on Rhinos, playing Rhinos things, playing Crashing Footfalls and things that make Crashing Footfalls a good card.
Yeah. Notably, no Hammer in the top 3 cards. We don't need that one. We only need Swordsforge Mystic.
Yes, Hammer, Colossus Hammer specifically.
Right.
Not a relevant card. Stoneforge Mystic, very relevant. Both players shuffling
I see
up.
they are shuffling. I'm not sure if they have both mulliganed quite yet. This is certainly an interesting matchup because Hammer Time is one of those decks that can kind of invalidate a Rhino's board state. If you just like have a 10-10 and they have a bunch of 4/4s, you're not really able to get through very well.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of that, if you have a 10-10 and you're trying to attack with it and your opponent has like 10 power in play, you kind of have to start considering like, if you don't have an easy way to re-equip this hammer, am I going to trade off my 10-10?
Indeed. And I've played this matchup from the Rhino side a bit.
Sure.
And I found that I generally have a good time as long as they don't land a Dranith Magistrate.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough one.
That one is the hardest card. They play a lot of copies in their sideboard, as I've seen mostly 4-ofs.
Right.
And that card is very hard to deal with. Additionally, they usually main deck some copies of Surge of Salvation, which negates your removal. So you can be like, tap your attacker that you're about to attack with, and they're like, actually, I'm going to attack you anyway, which means you're dead.
Yeah.
So, like, Hammer has a lot of play.
Yep.
It shouldn't be under... You shouldn't think less of it.
Yeah.
It can do a lot of stuff very quickly. And Rhinos can also do stuff. It looks like we're going to start here with a Breeding Pool untapped. It's going to do something with it. Suspended Crashing Footfalls.
Yeah, took 2 damage to get that. Turn 1, Crashing Footfalls. It feels a lot better to do a turn 1 for Crashing Footfalls than a turn 4 Crashing Footfalls.
Much better. We saw turn 4s early in this game. Going over to Jack. Looks like he has some lands and some spells to play. Can start off with the Seacrum Coast, possibly.
Yeah, I see there is a Spell Pierce hanging out in hand, and that card certainly adds a very interesting dynamic to,
Rhinos does not like to see
this
Spell
matchup.
Pierce. It's better when they don't suspend the Crashing Footfalls directly.
That's true.
But it's still not bad.
Right. That is a way to be able to sneak through some Rhinos, is just suspend it. Cast it when you have all of your mana open.
We're going to see a turn 1 Sigarda's Aid from Hammer. That means that any equipments they play from here on out will automatically be equipped to whatever creature they wish, assuming there's a creature in play.
No creatures quite yet. I think that had we had some sort of 0 mana creature, like one of the Ornithopters or Memnites, probably would have seen it played out just in case we find that. A second Sigarda's Aid off the top, though, not quite as powerful as the first one.
Second one's not as desirable.
So Chris here cycling for the Triumph. He's going to play it tapped to make sure he has all colors of mana. We have the ever-present Urza Saga come down on turn 2.
It's a very good card.
And I think that we're just holding up this Spell Pierce this turn.
We're just going to pass back over to Chris.
If Chris has a Shardless Agent, I think that this Spell Pierce is going to find its target pretty easily here. However, I think that Chris is on...
Just going to pass back.
A Violent Outburst here. If there is a Cascader in hand, I thought I caught a glimpse of a Violent Outburst. And yeah, Jack is just going to untap here, draw a top 3 card in his deck, Plains.
Both players are just going to pass on their turn 2 effectively. And, or Jack's turn 2, Chris's turn 3. And they're just going to hold up mana, intimidating each other. So we have his Urza Saga on 2 counters now, so now if he passes back, he can make a dude end of turn with that Urza Saga. He might also decide to go ahead and play something. And he can hold that Spell Pierce in the meantime.
I think I like the pass here.
Violent Outburst.
He's giving himself the opportunity to either make a construct or use the Spell Pierce.
Oh, no, don't cap. No, you wait there. Oh, you heard us. Good.
All right, he knows what he's trying to do, so he's just gonna wait for these actions to happen.
Yes, and Jack, he plays a lot of different decks. He has played Hammer for a while, but he has not played it recently, at least as far as I'm aware. So, still getting more accustomed to the Spell Pierce timing here with the Cascade trigger. Of course, for those at home, you want to counter the Crashing Footfalls rather than the Violent Outburst. Otherwise, those Rhinos will still enter. So he is going to Spell Pierce that Crashing Footfalls, and Chris is not going to be able to pay for it.
The thing that Chris has going for him here is that this all happened on Jack's end step. So Chris is going to be able to untap and potentially resolve something here.
Do it again, yeah.
And, bare minimum, this Suspended Footfalls is going to go down to 1. We're going to probably see
down
it
that
happening.
Suspend card there, right? He's going to remember it there.
All right.
And Jack can't make the construct here because he tapped for that Spell Pierce. Was it worth it? Maybe.
Probably. I mean, I think that I would rather my opponent not have 2 4/4s than me having
a 1/1,
a single creature. Although it's probably going to be bigger than just a 1/1.
Jack doesn't have any creatures here, though.
Right.
Right? Like, he needs something. Disregard Day doesn't do anything if there's no creatures in play.
I imagine that he is going to be forced into making a construct.
Then going to hammer and put it on the construct?
And just go ahead and get this hammer online. Chris does have answers to constructs that aren't damage-based. A Dead Gone can Gone and bounce the construct, which can be a pretty good way to get through.
Do you see what he has in hand?
I don't know what he has access to between the 2 cards that he has in hand, however. And it looks like, yes, he is going to go for the hammer. It's going to get equipped up to this construct.
Going to remember his triggers there.
I think the cards in hand for Chris are Solitude and Gemstone Caverns. So not quite the hefty leftovers that he would probably want to have when facing against a 12/12.
I think it's a Subtlety, not a Solitude.
Oh, excuse me. I always get those mixed up.
Yeah, both start with S. They both pitch elementals. Very understandable. I do this myself.
Yeah.
Gonna just pass.
Yeah, no additional land drop.
Can't attack.
It's
from summoning sick. It's gonna make some Rhinos. Here is Chris. Make 2 4/4s. See if he has the right tokens for that. Oh, he has some special tokens.
These special tokens are brought to you by frequent commentator Lee McLeod.
Lee's an artist. I didn't know
an
that.
artist. We've got some pretty happy looking rhinos.
Definitely more cheerful than the average rhino. Mm-hmm. They have smiley faces and everything.
All right, so just these 2 rhinos in play. You're going to pass the turn back. Jack's going to untap, debate whether or not he wants to attack. He's got some options here.
Gonna swing.
He is. This looks like an attack for 12 coming in. So even if we did flash in our 3/3 flyer, we would only have 11 power. It's not going to quite do it.
Oh.
And that's going to be game. So
he didn't block there?
No blocks declared. He didn't want to give away any of his 4/4s. He was just hoping that his opponent didn't have the hammer, and
he did.
Turns out we had the hammer, and that's going to be game 1 going to Jack on hammer time.
Which means he'll have to be on the draw next game. And answering the truly important questions, it turns out the text on that bottle of Jack's is alive. Not olive.
Not some olive juice in there?
Nope, no olive
juice. Maybe some alive kombucha?
Yes, alive kombucha.
So you mentioned Drannith Magistrate.
Drannith Magistrate, out of the
sideboard. Important sideboard card.
Very good.
Yeah. So I would imagine that Chris just wants to make sure that he is packing enough interactive elements. We were talking earlier today about how Randos doesn't want to overboard against a deck like Through the Breach, or not Through the Breach, Underworld Breach, because Underworld Breach has so many different angles that they can attack you on. But this is a matchup where you just want as many sideboard cards as possible. You know, as many Force of Vigors as you can, as many removal spells as you can. If you've got Furies, you want all of them. So I think that Chris is going to be looking for just every opportunity to have an interactive spell, because the threats that Jack is going to be presenting are going to be a lot more threatening than just a couple of 4/4s.
True. And so out of the sideboard, of course, every sideboard is a little bit different, but we do have Magistrate that we mentioned. We could see some extra copies of Spell Pierce, maybe like a Path to Exile or March to Otherworldly Light if Jack really thinks he wants to pick up those 4/4s. I imagine that Jack will be more in on the Drannith Magistrate plan and then just try and protect his creatures and get there. I think Jack wants to race this.
Yeah.
He can win quickly, and he can blank a lot of Chris's removal.
Yeah.
The Rhino player, what do you think they're going to be boarding in from the side?
Yeah, I think that we're going to see the Force of Vigor coming in, and I think that might be, unless there are like a couple of Furies in the sideboard.
Furies,
sometimes
Flame of Venor maybe?
The Flame of Venor is going to be a good one. I think that Chris probably has a couple of those. So just anything that can destroy a creature or an artifact is what I'm looking to pull in from Chris's side.
Yep.
Yeah, but Jack, has the benefit of being able to have hate permanents in Drannith Magistrate and also counterspells. I mean, Spell Pierce is a really impactful card here.
Card.
Yeah.
Will players sideboarding, going to game 2. What are we going to have? Chris on the play for this game. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah. A little bittersweet to be on the play from the Rhino side of things. You've got these caverns that you want to
you're gonna
utilize.
Sideboard out some of them. Some number of caverns.
Yeah. Usually we see like a swap of like Viseju coming in, a Viseju premium card in this matchup.
Viseju's going to come in either way, for sure. And then the caverns will have to adjust their own space for that.
Right. And sometimes you just cut them. Sometimes they're just like, you just go lower land count, and that's fine. You just don't want to have access to that colorless land. It's not really doing much for you. Chris here in the tank as he shuffles his deck. Doing some reconsidering, going back to the drawing board.
Got to double check your sideboard plan, make sure it's actually what you intended. Make sure you boarded it in and out the right cards. See, a lot of Rhinos lists lately have been playing Fear Force of Vigors, which is really not what you want for this matchup.
Right. And I think that part of the reason for that is that the popularity of Hammer Time has gone down. When Hammer Time was one of the more popular decks, you were kind of forced into playing for Force of Vigors. But now you might play against a Hammer Time deck in a long tournament, whereas previously you were just like, it was a sure thing that there was going to be a bunch of them. So I kind of see the reasoning why the numbers have changed, but I think that right now in this seat, Chris is wishing that he had more.
And in this meta, we do have 3 to 4 players out of like a regular 16 to 20-ish that can play Hammer.
Okay.
Jack is one of them. We have at least 2 other heroes tonight who are not. Or there's one other Hammer player here tonight. And then there's, I think, one of their potential that is not playing Hammer, but does own the deck. So it's not unheard of in this meta, even after Lord of the Rings, where it didn't get a whole lot.
Right. Is Jack one of those players who just kind of plays the flavor of the week and just has a bunch of access to different decks that he picks between?
The decks I've seen Jack on are Cabal Coffers, Hammer.
Okay.
What's that counters one? It's the green Hardened Scales. He's played Hardened Scales a fair bit.
Hammer Time adjacent.
Yeah,
so like trying to make some big creatures.
He also often plays Legacy, and so he's often doing other things. Sometimes he'll play the draft here or whatever.
Okay.
He can do a lot of stuff. Hammer has been one of his go-tos for a bit, although he's been off of it recently. So seeing him back on Hammer tonight is return to form in that case.
He's gone back to what he's comfortable with. All right, we've got the players pondering their keeps here. A couple of slumped shoulders, a couple of exasperated looks.
Nobody terribly excited about their hands, but they might keep them anyway. Who knows?
Yeah. And who knows how much of that is a little showmanship, a little, oops, drew the nuts.
I guess like 70%. Oh, they're both gonna.
All right,
well, they're
there
not
we go.
happy
Okay.
with either of them. Good read on that. Those slumped shoulders.
Yeah. Both going to send those back, looking for a little more powerful draws here. And this is a matchup that really incentivizes you to have a strong opener. Neither one of these decks has like a lot of card velocity. You're mostly just kind of stuck with what you've drawn in your opener, and you're not trying to have the game go that long. So you just
quickly.
Yeah, you really want to make sure that your opening hand has the tools that you need already. You don't want to be trying to.
And every maul hurts too.
Yes, that's fair. Yeah.
It's not like Tron that can just like mull the 3 lands and be happy with it. These decks want a certain combination of cards.
You do need the density and you need the specifics. So there's pretty big tension there for both players. We've got a keep from Chris. We've got another mulligan from Jack.
Down to 5 for Jack. This will be.
I imagine that post board, when Jack has access to
He's on the draw.
some really strong cards. Yeah, he's on the draw, so he kind of has that luxury of being able to like draw and try to hit that extra land if he needs to. But if he has stuff like Spell Pierce, Drain Magistrate, these like silver bullets for this matchup, I can see the incentive of looking at like kind of a medium hand and being like, this isn't good enough. If my 5 has one of these silver bullets in it, then I'll be
so
a lot
much better.
Happier.
Yeah. I've played the Rhinos matchup against Hammer, and one Draft Magistrate's hard enough to deal with because you need exactly Fury, Flame of Venor, or like 2 copies of Dead Gone and or the Fire Ice.
Now, how does Drain of Magistrate read exactly? It prevents you from casting spells that you don't pay mana for?
So Drain of Magistrate, All-Star from Ikoria says your opponents can't cast spells from anywhere other than their hands.
Anywhere other than their hands.
So you can still cast 3 spells. You can still like Force of Vigor, Force of Negation, or Subtlety, but
I think it's Lavinia that I'm thinking of.
Lavinia might be it. So Dranith Magistrate says that your exiled Crashing Footfalls cannot be cast off Suspend, which is the real kicker. Or off of the exile from like Charlotte's Agent and or Violet's Outburst Cascade.
Right. Pretty crucially there. We do see a couple of Furies in hand, I believe, from Chris.
That's what you need.
Trying to get glimpses as he flicks through his hand. Ooh, and there's a strong one. We've got a Esper Sentinel coming down, turn 1. Looks like it's going to resolve.
And I don't want to stop with follow it. We're going to see a Lorien Revealed cycled out of Chris's hand to get another land. We can't see if that's all the lands he has, although for his sake, I hope it's not.
Yeah, we're at least going to be able to get one more land here.
Going to get a Ketria Trial.
Yeah. So no plans for casting a 2-mana spell next turn. Just wants to make sure that he has access to all colors of mana.
Well, 3 mana is a sweet spot in this Cascade deck, so 2 mana is not so important, although you would like it, but like, it's not required.
Yeah.
And he might even decide to clean up this board with Fury this turn.
Looks like we did draw into Fire Ice.
Fire Ice
so
is pretty
a little
good.
bit of punish for the choice here. I think that there's not much difference between
without Furying.
Just the breeding pool. Yeah, no Fury chosen quite yet. I think that he feels comfortable not Furying here because the thing that punishes you the most for allowing these creatures to exist in the main phase is specifically a hammer plus the enchantment that allows
Sigarda's Aid. Just gonna hit
and
for 1 here with
Chris
Esper
has
Sentinel.
access to Force of Negation in hand, so I think that he's got that
feels safe a bit.
Yeah, he's got that covered.
I think we just saw another copy of Fire Ice enter the hand, so we might feel more safe evoking one of these Furies here, clean out the board, make sure that Jack doesn't have any creatures, but he's just going to say go. He's going to miss his 3rd land drop. And he's just going to say, he's not going to Fire Ice anything, he's just going to let him go to combat.
I think passing the turn there is good. You don't want to fire off your instant speed stuff in the main phase in case Jack does have that Spell Pierce, wants to use it on your turn, and then untap itself access to his mana.
It's hard because you'd also you'd love to draw a card with your ice and play a land for turn.
I think that I would, in Chris's shoes, I would put a higher priority on using the draw mode here. And I think that might even be worth allowing Jack to draw an additional card off of the Esper Sentinel.
Yeah. Well, you have to if you're going to cast Fire Ice at this board state, right? You can't pay for Esper Sentinel.
Yeah. The other option would be using Dead to destroy the Esper Sentinel and pay the extra mana.
Yeah, he has Dead gone in hand.
But I think it's going to depend a lot on what Jack's play is here.
Yeah. The other thing is, he also just needs to keep open mana to make sure he doesn't get hammered, right? Sigarda's Hammer is just dead.
Right. Yeah.
And it's Sigarda's in hand. But he's going to go with the Stoneforge Mystic.
Stoneforge Mystic coming down.
It's a promo Stoneforge Mystic. Foil.
And Jack has been really careful to leave up this blue mana kind of the whole game. So I think that he's signaling pretty hard that he does have some sort of Spell Pierce.
And the signals might be stronger than the actual card in hand, right?
Right.
Just saying, hey, I'm ready for this. You can test if I have the card in hand if you really want to.
Right. I think that we did get a glimpse of a Spell Pierce there.
You think does Jack actually have the Spell Pierce?
I believe so. But we'll see what the card of choice is to get. It's always interesting as the hammer player, if you don't have a way to equip the hammer quite yet, sometimes it feels a little awkward to go ahead and grab that hammer. Sometimes you want to go for something like a Batterskull or Cauldron Complete. But we do go for the hammer here.
And we're just going to play the hammer here. We're going to play the Sigarda's Aid, or we're just going to hit for one.
Getting in for one, and I imagine that we're just going to continue holding up the Spell Pierce.
We're just going to kill it here. This is ballsy. It might not be strictly correct, but I tend to approach hammer with the infects idea with get out of combat safely.
Right.
After combat, you can do stuff.
Yeah.
Take the one, whatever. Don't pick a fight in combat. But we see it's going to work out for him here, for Chris to just go ahead and kill that Esper Sentinel, not take the one. He's going to go ahead and go over to his turn. Hopefully he finds the land. Did he get it? Is that an Otawara?
I think that he did. He did find the land.
Not there.
Here.
He's going to pass back.
And I do think that it was safe to fire off that damage-based removal spell in combat there with just one mana and no Sigarda's Aid.
A whole lot he can do with one mana.
Yeah. So we're going to have a pass here from Chris. And now, interesting, he's got the kind of the combo of Violent Outburst plus Force of Negation. So he's going to be able to fight well through this Spell Pierce.
And does he have a blue card? He has the Fire Ice for that. So this is Sigarda's Aid. Here's hoping he doesn't need to waste that Force of Negation on the hammer going to be cast here, right? Or if Jack just goes to put it in with the Stoneforge Mystic, there won't be a cast to counter, right? Yeah. So he could just put it in, put it on an Ornithopter, but Chris is going to go here and say, nope, you're not even going to get that Sigarda's Aid in play.
Yeah.
Not even a chance of that hammer being equipped.
I think I like that. I think that...
I do.
I think that we know about the hammer, so we know that this is a scary card. And this plays around Spell Pierce.
It does.
I assume that we're going to go ahead and run into the Spell Pierce, though, anyways, with the Violent Outburst.
Make him have it, right?
Yeah, I mean, you got to make him have it.
Then he can't counter your later thing.
Yeah. We're already stuck on lands.
Well, he's just going to hit him for one with the Stoneforge Mystic.
Get in there.
Get in there. Not even going to tap it. Not even going to cast the hammer. Going to hold that.
All right, and look, Chris is really respecting that blue mana that Jack has open.
He is.
He decided not to cast his Violent Outburst. And I think that makes sense because his Violent Outburst is really his only threat that he has access to. He's got some Furies pretty far away from being able to hard cast those. So he knows that if he does get Spell Pierced,
he's on Vulcan of Fury this turn. He's holding his cards thus and so.
Yeah.
Thinking about pitching that Fury to maybe another Fury, get rid of all the creatures on board. It's mighty attractive because you need your creatures to not have summoning sickness.
Yeah.
So you can get the one of Ginger Brute, or you need to have a creature in play, and just not having a creature in play is such a breath of relief when you're playing against Hammer.
Right.
Like, you just don't have anything against you.
Yeah, I think it was pretty defensible to go ahead and fire off the Fury if you wanted to there. So, and now we even have extra incentive to fire off this Fury.
Giver Runes is pretty good, although you can't kill everything on board. You have to try it now, though. So what would you hit? If you were Fury here, what would you target?
I think I would go after the Stoneforge and the Giver.
Giver. So I get the 2 X2s?
Yep.
Seems pretty reasonable. You can't let that Giver untap, really, can you?
Well, if you do let the Giver untap, then all of a sudden your Fury becomes just a 1-for-1 for the Giver. So.
Or you have to kill the Giver separately.
Right. So yeah, I think that now we're going to go ahead and take our 2-for-1 opportunity. There is still the Ornithopter that is threatening to, get some big equipment attached to it.
See, Chris thinking long and hard here what he's going to exile. He's going to
Yeah.
exile the other Fury. He was thinking about exiling that Violent Outburst.
He was thinking about it, and I think the reason for that was because he hit that 4th land. Now he's only 1 land away from being able to hardcast that Fury. And he's been playing so carefully around Spell Pierce. It would be nice to be able to just like slam
complete that. Play it with 5 mana. He's a Questing Beast in hand. Is that what I see?
But
he's not the
so,
second
but
green.
He only has 1 green.
This deck. So I've played this deck. I have not played Questing Beast. I have played Endurance. That second green can be hard sometimes.
It can.
And only with the Endurance and like Force of Negation, Force of Vigor.
Right.
With Questing Beast, I imagine it's even harder to get that green mana consistently unless you're actively searching for it. But he has an Ottawara and basic Island in play with that Steam Vents and Catchery Triumph, so he is not going to cast in that Questing Beast unless he draws another land.
All right, we've got a tap land here from Jack. I'm going to pass it back. Chris still being really patient.
Drew a Dismember for turn.
Drew Dismember. That's a bit of a safety net here. The 4 life being paid for Dismember is still fine when you're at 15.
It's better than getting the 10 off whatever creature they play.
Ooh, but that is going to be a pretty scary one.
Aid.
I think that what Chris needs to do, and this feels bad, but I think that he needs to just go ahead.
No, but watch what's going to happen here. I think Chris has a Mystical Dispute in hand, right?
Yeah.
So he's going to be able to counter this?
I think
or he's going to dismember the
Chris has done
creature.
here is he's gotten a little greedy, and he's like, I think that my opponent's going to go for it, and I'm going to be able to get them. But he's running pretty hard into a second hammer.
True. If there's 2 hammers in hand.
Right. If there's 2 hammers in hand, this is not going to end well for
No,
Chris.
not at all. But there's no 2 hammers, so Jack is going to let it happen, and the hammer's going to not have any targets for its ability.
Okay. We've got Fire Ice drawn here. I'm wondering if you actually just want to fire that off main phase.
No, so what you do here, end of turn, tap your blue source.
Well,
My
now
turn.
we've got 2 blue sources.
True.
So that does muddy the waters a little bit there.
That does make it hard.
Yeah.
I think you still probably do it.
I think that you're going to use the tap mode on something.
You have to draw. You have to tap something, right?
Yeah.
You're just going to go. You just draw a card.
Yeah, I think that you wanted to turn that into another card.
So, on the other hand, there's no creatures in play. Any creature he could play gets dealt with by that fire, including that Inkmoth Nexus. So that fire from the Fire Ice is really valuable to get rid of whatever creature. That Subtlety can... Yeah, he's not going to cast that Subtlety anytime soon, I doubt.
It is nice to have the Subtlety. Just as like something that you can spend your mana on.
It's just an insurance, yeah.
And even if there are no plays here, I think that I still like running out the 3/3 flyer. We just need to get some sort of pressure going, and we've just been playing Drago for so long.
A Hammer deck, as soon as it starts playing Drago, starts losing, I think.
Usually it's not that
there's
good.
that Dranith Magistrate.
Wow. But we do have the Subtlety. Solitude? Subtlety?
Subtlety.
Subtlety.
But that means that he's going to be able to activate the Inkmoth Nexus's turn and attack with it. I don't think he has another hammer, so it's not like quite lethal.
The subtlety does fly, so he does need he does need some equipment that is going to be able to power over the 3/3.
Well, Colossus Hammer also removes flying, so gonna put that Drannith Magistrate on top. Gonna come back next turn.
Yeah,
it is that good.
I like that. I think that is one of the better draws that you can have.
Right, so often with Subtlety we see if it's not now, then it's never. But here, it's like it's actually good enough to be next turn, and the next turn, and the next turn, depending how many Subtleties you draw. We're just going to keep doing this.
So we've got a consideration here. I'm not sure what we're thinking about. But we're considering something. I'm wondering if we drew a hammer in one of those turns where we were playing Drago.
Maybe.
Although it's pretty awkward now to use that hammer kind of like as a one-shot to get rid of this solitude.
Subtlety.
Just gonna pass. Because if you animate an attack and there's a block, I mean there's got to be a block, and then you do have the hammer, that hammer's gonna kill the creature, but then it's gonna fall off in
you have to redo it next turn.
And yeah, being able to re-equip it is going to be a much taller order.
Just going to take 3 from that Subtlety.
All right. So no fear.
No fear, no fetch. Just going to leave that land in play. Another Drannith. Oh, he needs the Drannith Magistrate. Of course, it's on top.
Yeah, you got to have that Drannith Magistrate.
Cast it again. See what happens. If it was good enough the first time, must be good enough the second time, right?
Yeah, and I believe that this is going to force some action.
I think you just let it resolve.
No, yeah. Sounds like you just
let it resolve.
You
have Force of Negation in hand, which doesn't deal with, whatchamacallit, creatures.
Yeah.
Gonna fetch that land now that he's drawn the Drannith Magistrate at the top.
So we know that there is a questing beast in hand as well for Chris, which he hasn't been able to cast because of the lack of green source. But there's another green spell hanging out over there. Is that a Force of Vigor that I see? All right, so here we go. We've animated, we've attacked. There's no blocks. Chris was ready to write down 1 infect, which is not that scary. But now
One
Jack's
infect's not what you care about.
Yeah, he's gonna force the issue.
So that hammer casts. Yep. And then response to that, I presume response to the target of Sigarda's Aid.
Right.
If he's being strictly correct.
Yeah, so some things to consider here. I think that if we're going to go for a damage-based removal spell, we do have to make sure that we're waiting for the target to happen. But there's a little bit of attention because he also has the Force of Negation. So he's going to go for that first. Force of Negation here.
Was he pitching there? Did you see?
I think that it was the Fire Ice. And I believe that the last card in hand now from Jack is just the Spell Pierce.
Yeah, it was the Fire Ice.
And Chris has very dutifully left open plenty of mana the whole game. So Chris is going to take that 1 infect. He's going to untap. He's going to draw another Force of Negation.
Hit her for 3.
Yeah, I believe this is going to put Jack down to 12. Yeah.
Close to a tie game, 11 and 12. I say go.
All right.
Inkmoth Nexus needs to be pulled back behind the creature line. There we go.
Ooh, a pretty big draw step here from Jack. It's going to be an Urza's Saga.
It's a good one. Left unchecked, it'll run away with things.
Yeah, can't force a negation in that one.
You can. Sorry, force a vigor. You can force a vigor.
You can force a vigorette, and I highly recommend that. But
yes, not for full mana. Because Crystal has got to find a second green.
Yeah.
Like Questing Beast still sitting in hand.
Yeah, I've still been trying to deduce what that other green card is in hand.
There's an Inkmoth Nexus.
All right, we're gonna get in with both creatures.
Why not,
right? Say no blocks, thank you.
You just take two. Well, one infect, one Drannith Magistrate damage.
Yeah. Do another violent.
And you're just gonna like leave that Inkmoth up there. Hit you back for 3. Which clock is faster? That's the question. It looks like Chris's clock might actually be faster if nothing else is done. But that Urza Saga is going to do something else.
I think that Urza Saga is going to change the equation a little bit here.
We see another violent outburst in the hand of Chris. So if he can find a way to remove that Drannith Magistrate, he can make some rhinos.
Yeah. So he needs to find another Fury, another something here. Is it 2 Questing Beasts in hand? Is that what I'm
I can't see. It might be. He's not being entirely cooperative with our cameras, is he?
we need a big fan up towards the ceiling.
Definitely has, I think, 2 copies of Violent Outburst, a Questing Beast.
Yeah.
And some other stuff.
So
gonna hit him with that Drannith Magistrate.
Just an attack with the Drannith Magistrate. We're no longer really worried about infect damage.
Mutavault. So that is some Flame of Honor attack.
There we go.
It also just like hits your opponent for 2. But with Flame of Honor, so Flame of Honor, for those at home who don't have it pulled up, says choose one of these 3 things. But if you control a wizard, choose 2 of these 3 things. So it has draw 2 cards. Deal 5 damage to not a player but something else, and then destroy an artifact. So if you have that Mutavault and you can make it into a wizard, because Mutavault is every creature type, then you get that Flame of Honor double ability. And it looks like those are 2 Questing Beasts and Chris's hand.
Yeah.
No Flame of Honor, sadly, so that Mutavault is just going to be a 5th land. And it's not green, unfortunately. That would be really nice for him.
Yeah, the downside of it being Mutavault is it does not tap for any colors. Looks like we are going to be making a construct, and in response to the last Saga chapter, we're going to be animating the Inkmoth Nexus, kind of signaling what's about to happen.
Yeah, so we're seeing the attack for 8 there with just the Saga tokens.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
And Chris has seen enough. He's like, I'm tired of staring at these Questing Beasts in hand that I can't cast. You got it.
Maybe you should play more green mana.
Yeah. Yeah, Mutavault, it was an additional land, but it wasn't the right color.
Was it the match?
Yeah, I think that was the match. Jack is going to be taking that one 2-0.
Yeah, quick match there.
Pretty quick one there. The game 1 was over very quickly with just a very swift hammer draw, and then game 2 took a long time. We saw Chris being really patient, but in the end, Hammer's going to be able to take it down. Yeah. So there we have it, round 3 in the books, and we've got one more for everybody. And stay tuned and come back for the last round of Modern.
Yeah, see you then. Have a good one.
I'm just assuming that we're good. I
never heard, but I assume so at this point.
Okay. we've got Boros Burn versus the classic scam of the format.
Scam.
Rakdos Evoke, I think is what they called it.
The Pro Tour uses some more polite language, saying it's Rakdos Evoke. That's piloted by Maximilian Bond.
No politeness here, though. It's a scam.
It's a scam.
I believe it's a scam. So yeah, we've got Rakdos versus Boros over here. And I believe that this burn deck has a couple of spicy ones in it. We've got in the top 3 cards listed out, number 1, Roiling Vortex, which is
typical burn card.
Typical burn
Main
card.
deckable.
Number 2, Light Up the Stage.
Not so commonly known. It has Spectacle, so if an opponent's left life this turn, it can be cast for a single red, and it says exile the top 2 cards. You may play them this turn.
Right. And then number 3 is Blood Moon. And I'm wondering if that's going to be a main deck Blood Moon, or if it's going to be...
He wrote it on his top 3 cards.
Top 3,
so
probably in the
for some inside baseball, the viewers are home. We asked the players to write down their deck name and the top 3 cards. And our burn player, Luther, he's here on the left, wrote Roiling Vortex, Light Up the Stage, and Blood Moon. It's hard to imagine you write Blood Moon on your list without it being a main deck card.
Right.
But he also wrote Boros Burn. So it's hard to say what exactly he's going for here.
Yeah.
Well, I guess we'll see as the game starts off.
We will find out. 2 excellent playmats from our competitors.
High quality artwork.
Yeah. It looks like Scam is on a mulligan.
Is that really uncommon for Scam, though? Like,
no.
I feel like they're really looking for...
I think that it's a deck that has access to some very explosive draws. You're really looking for that turn 1.
You don't mind mulliganing for a really good draw.
Yeah, you want that evoke creature plus a way to get it back on turn 1. Be able to get either double duty on the Thoughtseize effect, or be able to get that 4/4 double striker in as soon as possible. It looks like we have a keep on 6 for our Rakdos player.
Our burn player's keeping 7?
Yeah, burn player is on 7, which is exactly what they want to be doing.
Not card lost. Looks like our Scam player's going first. Mm-hmm. Gonna go to 18 with that Blood Crypt. What is he gonna do with it? That's a real question.
And yeah, turn 1 can be pretty scary.
Here's the
we
start.
have the grief.
Exiling a Voidwalker. Luther's going to just go ahead and show him what he has. That looks like a Boros Burn list.
Yeah, pretty phenomenal 7-card hand. We've got 2 lands, the perfect amount in your opener.
Yep.
We've got the Goblin Guide, and we've got a bunch of stuff to do damage later in the game.
Here's the awkward part, though.
Yeah.
Is that grief really going to survive?
Probably not.
Probably not,
I
right?
think that we're going to see a pretty classic 3-for-2 scenario, or maybe even a 3-for-3
We're going to see, I think, I'm going to take the Lightning Bolt, which deals clean with the grief, and a Rift Bolt, which deals with the grief next turn.
Right.
He might be able to cycle the Goblin Guide. That Lava Bolt and that Boros Charm, that Lava Spike and that Boros Charm are not going to be able to kill that grief, so he's going to take that Rift Bolt.
Yeah.
So Luther's going to still have that Goblin Guide. He's probably going to play it on turn 1, attack him for 2, get the damage in, whatever. But that grief is going to stay in play and keep clocking Luther for, what is that, 4 every turn now, since that's a +1/+1 counter on it?
So I think the Bolt was the clear choice.
Yes.
It kills the grief on turn 1 if that's what the burn player wants to do. And then the second choice was, I'm pretty sure, between Goblin Guide and Rift Bolt. And it seems as though we are prioritizing getting rid of the spells that can answer the grief. But I'm not quite sure that that's really what the game is about. I think that the burn player here is just pretty happy to ignore this grief for the time being. Try to go face, get this Goblin Guide damage in.
I think the burn player wins that race, right?
I do think that the burn player wins that race. It does change the equation a little bit if the follow-up for Maximilian is going to be some sort of removal spell for this Goblin Guide, because that's just like another way that you can interact.
He's not going to. Looks like it's just going to pass.
Yeah. It could still have like an instant speed, lightning bolt, fatal push, and is looking
After
to get that
land trigger.
Yeah, that land trigger. But Luther's got that second land. We're going to go to combat. We're going to trigger on the stack.
He's going to fetch first. So he doesn't
first.
So if you were just trying to get a land off the top, you might say wait for the land trigger off the Goblin Guide. But he's going to go, nope, fetch first, kill it. We're probably still going to remember that trigger. We'll see if the players keep that in mind.
Yeah.
We do still have that pending.
Yeah, I like a fetch and response as long as you have plenty of lands. If you are really desperate for a land, I like waiting, seeing if the top card is a land.
They didn't go to the they didn't resolve the Goblin Guide trigger, unless what Maximilian did was do it before he attacked, in which case this would make sense.
Right. So we're going to get in for 4. Luther's going to be down to 12. And we saw from the first Goblin Guide trigger that there was a Fable of the Mirror Breaker, which I imagine is going to be the play here.
It's a 3-drop. Oh, mismatching swamps. What are you doing, Max? Come on. Here's that Fable of the Mirror Breaker.
Yeah, and I believe that might have even been the last card in the hand.
Yeah, that's the last card.
So we've got pressure. I mean, our opponent is at 12, and we've got 6 power in play. That's 2 turns of attacking.
So, facing the burn player, you have more life than they do. Are you really upset at this point?
No, I'm not upset. I'm pretty happy to be in Maximilian's shoes. Although we are going to be going down to 10.
Yeah.
10 feels a lot different than 9, I will tell you that much.
That's a whole other lightning bolt.
Yeah. It looks like the draw for the turn was a Roiling Vortex, which...
Not where you want to be.
Yeah, I mean, a Roiling Vortex is excellent against decks that are a lot slower. But the fact that we are, using our lands to draw mana, to draw spells
that
here,
Sunbaked Canyon's getting cycled for another card.
definitely looks to be a desperation.
It's a
move.
land. It's a mountain.
Yep. And we have played our land for turn here, so if we have a 1-mana burn spell, we can fire it off. Although I would definitely consider, if we've drawn into like a lightning bolt or something, to...
You want to hit that grief?
Yeah, you got to hit that grief at this point. You're not
know.
going to win this race against 6
So it's
power.
2, 6... so 6 total, that's 2 turns. If you can hit them down to 7 this turn, and then... Yeah, I guess you're right. That is losing, so we can hit them down to 7.
So we're going to need...
He needs 2+ damage. He only has 2 cards in hand.
Right. We're either going to need specifically Boros Charm into 1-mana burn spell, or we're going to need land and 3 1-mana burn spells. And I don't...
That's a tall order.
I don't
Because he only
think
has 2
that
cards
we
in hand,
have
and one of
any
them's a land.
1-mana burn spells in hand.
I think I see a Sacred Foundry in his hand.
Right.
I saw a land, I'm pretty sure. He does have 3 cards, though. So he could draw a burn spell off the top, play that extra land, and send them all to Maximilian Vaughn's face. But we will see. For now, it's Max's turn.
I believe that Max is currently deciding whether or not he wants to discard the card that he drew to the second Fable trigger.
To draw another one.
He just looks like he's going to keep it. It looks like he's... Okay, so he's chosen not to discard. He's getting in for 6.
Yep.
He's going to get that treasure off of the Goblin Guide attack.
The Goblin Shaman, yeah.
The Goblin, there's a lot of different goblins around
So
here.
many goblins in this matchup.
All right, and it looks like that card was
Also
a Voidwalker. And I like keeping the Voidwalker. It's another threat.
It can bolt.
Yeah, I mean, it can exile a burn spell here. Although I think it is kind of now or never here for the burn player.
This game is ending this turn or next turn, one way or the other. Either for Luther or for Max, but this is not going to go much longer.
Yeah, we do have the option for the burn player if there is a burn spell that can target creatures to hit the grief. And then we're only looking at 5 damage from the opponent.
You think you hit the grief? You don't hit the Voidwalker here?
Well, if we hit the Voidwalker, we're facing
Voidwalker-
6 damage. And at 6, I think that's going to be the tiebreaker.
True. But,
Looks like we have
so if you hit the
Mountain
grief,
tapped.
then you're letting the Voidwalker take that burn spell. Here we have a Monastery Swift Spear. That is not...
Yeah, this
the best
Spear
card.
might
Is
be
that-
on blocking duty. Although the Grief has Menace and the Voidwalker has Shadow.
So that's the Shaman.
That's 7
But
7
that's
damage.
still 7 unblockable damage. Unless he kills something.
Yeah.
It's going to turn around that Fable of the Mirror Breaker into Reflection of Kiki Jiki. See what he does for combat here. Just going to turn them all sideways. Hey, just get in there.
Yeah.
You can only block one of them. And if you... Yeah, you're just dead.
All
To
right.
realize it as well. We're going to game 2.
There we have it. Lethal damage coming through. We're going to be going to the sideboards. Now, there aren't really that many sideboard cards that I believe either player is going to be happy to see.
This isn't, there's no slam dunk cards for either player.
So
both players are Blood Moon decks, so they're going to be boarding those out.
Right. Yeah, Blood Moon not going to be effective from either side here. If anything, I think that Blood Moon is going to be more effective against Boros Burn than against Rakdos, because under a Blood Moon, if they have a basic land, at least Rakdos has both black and red mana, but...
And Burn doesn't tend to play basic planes.
Burn does not play basic planes. So, yeah, Burn is really, only going to be locking themselves off of Boros Charm.
Boros Charm, Lightning Helix, that's probably about all they have. They do have some other white enchantment removal of the sideboard. I doubt that Lucy's going to be bringing that in. I'm probably just going to stick with the burn spells here.
Yeah. I have seen a lot of these Rakdos lists run Chalice of the Void in the sideboard.
Yes.
Which is an interesting consideration to bring in this matchup. You're kind of hitting a similar number of cards from both decks with Chalice of the Void. Although if you are able to use it to kind of trade for like a couple of burn spells that are 1 mana that Luther might draw.
It protects against the top decks, right?
Right.
So it protects against Lightning Bolt and Lava Spike, although that might actually be all the 1 mana burn spells, because Rift Bolt is 3, Boros Charm is 2, Skullcrack is 2. So there's a lot of Skewer the Critics is 3.
Yeah, like
although
pseudo
it costs
ones.
1.
Right.
Same with Rift Bolt. So like there's, I don't know, Chalice of the Void's not the all-star that it is against some matchups, but we might still see him boarded in here. I think it's better than Blood Moon.
It's probably better than Blood Moon. I think that the Rakdos player is probably not going to want to board too much unless they have some sort of bullet. Another card that I've seen out of some of these Rakdos lists recently has been Shieldred. 4 mana Shieldred.
Gain life.
Any card that says Gain Life on it, you're going to be really happy to see here. So Shieldred could be one of those cards that we're going to be boarding in. But from the other side of things, from the Boros player's perspective, there aren't really that many sideboard cards that Burn plays that is applicable to something like a Rakdos deck. You already have all of your Searing Blazes in the main deck. Those are going to be really good. Being able to both hit the face and the creature is particularly applicable in this matchup.
Indeed.
So I think going to be some minor sideboarding here, but mostly, what I'm really going to be paying attention to are going to be these mulligans. If we can have another Grief draw that is going to be, turn 1 4-power creature that interacts with 2 spells, that's going to be really good. From the Boros Burn side of things, we're looking for that turn 1 creature, get in that recursive damage.
All right, we see both players going to their 7-card hands. Hopefully they both get to keep them.
Let's see what we get. It's going to be a pretty quick mulligan for Burn. Usually the only tiebreaker for a mulligan for Burn is going to be that land of spell distribution.
So Burn, there's a very good local Burn player here who's instructed me on some of the intricacies of the matchup. They want to keep at least 12 damage, she says.
Okay.
And if they don't have that between their mix of lands and spells, then I'll go ahead and mulligan. I imagine there's also some other obvious ones like all lands or all spells. You can't really keep those. I'm not sure exactly what Luther had here.
And I believe that the Rakdos player kept their 7,
Yes.
so they're going to be happy with it.
It's always encouraging from the opponent to see Rakdos player keep 7 cards, right?
Yes. And always encouraging from the Rakdos side of things to watch your Burn opponent mulligan.
Yes. We're going to keep suspend a Rift Bolt on turn 1. See what he does with that.
Yeah, turn 1 suspend is, it's a decent start, but it's, not quite the same
It's not
as
the
having a turn
fastest
1
you would
creature.
hope for. We're going to see... Oh, a Fury.
All right.
Okay. Exile Terminate. Feign Death. Going to have a double striking 4/4 on turn 2 to start hitting with. It's pretty good.
Yeah. I like that.
Oh, he's going to hit the Fury with that Rift Bolt? That means he's going to sink another card into it later to kill it?
So I think...
You're going to have a discussion about this.
Yeah, so we're going to deal 3 damage to this 4 toughness creature. So we've got 3 damage lingering on it. And I imagine that it's going to be finished off here.
Oh, it just bolts it.
Lightning bolt here.
You would really love to see a Searing Blaze there, but he's just going to play a Tapland. A Tapland from Burn is never a good sign.
Yeah. It's not something you see very often. But I imagine that we were just kind of locked into...
You have to get rid of that Fury, right?
Yeah, you gotta cast that spell that can target creatures. That Fury can present a very fast clock.
Yeah.
We call that the Hogak start. It's just turn 1 8 power. Let's see what you can do about it.
I never played with Hogak. I was out of Magic during that time frame.
It was
pretty good?
It was a pretty good Magic card. Played some in Legacy, mostly.
The Dolphy
turn 2
Voidwalker.
Voidwalker. Looks like a land was the draw for Luther. Voidwalker is always an interesting element to this matchup. It's not great. It's a threat. It doesn't block.
Pretty low ceiling.
Yeah, and, maximum potential for it is usually like something like a Lightning Helix is what you would love to see, but
Lightning
usually...
Helix, Searing Blaze, something like that.
Yeah, one of these higher
But
impact
you're
cards.
probably only going to get something like a Lava Spike or a Lightning Bolt.
Right. And I'm noticing that Luther is really putting a lot of value in just using these cycle lands as soon as he can.
Yeah, this is a Sunbait Canyon. It taps for a mana, or it taps +1 to draw a card.
Yeah. We're putting it out in the middle
If you
there because
sacrifice
it
it.
has a, what is it, a void
A
counter?
Void counter, yes.
Yeah. All right. We found a Goblin Guide. We're going to try to go to combat. Let me get that trigger.
That's a Ragavan,
Ragavan.
not a land. Gonna kill the Goblin Guide. Don't take any damage
Yep.
from it.
Rakdos pretty thrilled to be able to interact with spells without them dealing damage to your face. Notably, Maximilian still at 19 life.
That's a high life total against
Not
Burn.
what you want to see as the Burn
Another
player.
tap land. That's 2 tap lands this game from Luther. That is not where he wants to be.
Playing it nice and slow.
Is he shuffling here?
He's cracked fetch land in the end step. He's going to find probably a tapped Blood Crypt, I would imagine.
That would make sense.
You might consider grabbing a Swamp. But
Swamp, I could see if he's going to play a Blood Moon. I doubt he's going to play a Blood Moon.
Yeah, I don't think that
he's going to play a Swamp. Okay. So that is an interesting choice. What Swamp art is that?
Which Swamp art is that? I don't know.
Not anything significant, that's for sure.
Does it? Oh, it looks like he's got some use for this mana in the instep.
Gonna make an Orcish Bowmaster.
Yeah. Bowmaster's gonna come down, make a Orc army.
Not at its best against Burn, but it's not a bad card for sure.
That, yeah,
2 mana, 2/1/1s.
The recipe that really works against Burn here is gonna be pressure.
Yeah.
You just want to get as much pressure as you can in this game as
Just
quickly as
creatures on
possible.
board.
Burn has this weird kind of an inevitability where if you give them enough draw steps, they'll eventually draw.
Yeah, you lose
20
3
points of
damage.
burn.
You lose 3 life per turn.
Right.
Gonna get in there for 3, 4, 5 damage. Put him Luther down to 11.
Okay. Ooh, interesting. High right spell bomb.
The Pirate Spellbomb, that can deal 2 damage to any target at instant speed, depending on what Max wants to do with it. He might also just choose to draw a card with it after doing the 2 damage. If he has that extra mana available, he's just going to leave it in play for any potential Goblin Guide or Swift Spear that comes in later.
I'm wondering if the spell bomb is an indication that there are Urza Sagas floating around in this Rakdos list.
In this Rakdos list?
The other option would be that it is there to deal with some sort of protection from black and red creature.
True. That would be a Sanctifier and Vec.
Right.
Thoughtseize targeting the Burn player. So Thoughtseize, not typically the all-star against Burn, because you're paying 2 life to get a card that deals 3 damage.
Right.
But sometimes it can do 4 damage. Sometimes it can kill a creature and deal 3 damage to your face with Searing Blaze.
And
it's not the worst.
Yeah, and sometimes you just don't have
And
enough cards
sometimes
to board in.
it is actually just 1 less damage than let them bolt you, right?
Yeah.
So 3 Roiling Vortex.
Wait
I
a
bet you're
minute.
going to take a Roiling Vortex.
3 Roiling Vortexes. That is interesting.
And Luther here is commenting that he can't play any of these because Max is the aggressor here, so Luther would just lose in that case.
Right. And I think that is a good read of the situation.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, he's staring down 5 power. He's going to 6. Yeah, if he plays just 1.
How bad of a situation does that have to be? The burn player to recognize your opponent is the aggressor.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think it was all down to that kind of turn 1, 8 power creature. We had to use 2 burn spells on it.
2 burn spells. That's 6 damage. That's a lot.
That is quite a bit of damage.
Remember I said burn wants to keep 12 damage off the start? That's half of their original damage.
Right.
That's just gone into that burn spell. To that creature.
So Luther here drew a burn spell that only goes face, and I think that leaves him dead to the board.
Is that dead on board?
That's
got 5 damage.
5 damage on
Plus
board.
the Pirate Spellbomb.
Plus the Spy Right makes an additional 2 damage. Debating whether or not he wants to play one of those forbidden spells, as he called them.
Yes, the Roiling Vortex.
Yeah. Luther came here to cast spells, so
that's what Burn wants to do.
We're going to put it on the stack.
Trigger on the upkeep, deal 1 damage. Gonna go back in time and make sure the void counters are all applied correctly to those cards in the graveyard.
Yep.
Not that it'll matter that much. Max is just going to get in here for damage and deal 2 damage, and that is good games.
There we go. Yeah, Rakdos really showing that it has the ability to play these really fast, really efficient games that can even get under burn.
Yeah, racing burn, that's no mean trick.
Yeah, not easy to do, but when you get to start with some oversized creatures or creatures that get rid of 2 cards out of opponent's hand, that is certainly a recipe that can do it.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and I believe that is going to be a wrap for today. I think that was the... Yep. Yeah, that's going to be a wrap for today. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We have a lot of fun bringing these tournaments.
Yep.
They're held here at the Gathering Place in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. We have them every Wednesdays. We've been doing broadcasting. If you are near the area, I really highly recommend that next weekend, not this coming weekend, the weekend after that, we're going to be hosting this big modern tournament. We're going to be broadcasting it. It's going to be,
or is it Durham Convention
I believe
Center?
it's going to be in the Durham Convention Center.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's going to be the 18th through the 20th. So, yeah, highly recommend everybody come and check that out. You can find more information through the Gathering Place and all of their outlets online. And yeah, there you have it.
Well,
appreciate everybody.
Yep.